This is a budget work session of the Marquette Township Board. Today's Wednesday, October 11th. It's just after 1 p.m., 1:03 or so. You want to go ahead and do roll call, Randy?
Yeah, Trustee Everson.
Here.
Trustee Marks.
Present.
Trustee Kidda.
Here.
Trustee Winslow.
Present.
Treasurer Johnson.
Here.
Clerk retires here, and Supervisor Durant.
Here.
Staff present is Manager Kangas, Accountant Kim Clark is here, and Fire Chief Dan Shanahan is here.
Great. We don't have any public, so we can skip that part.
Okay, so did the copies of the draft number 2 fire fund and general fund make it all the way around the table? I sent 4 this way and the rest that way, and that was before Lynn sat down, so she might not have hers.
Have you got an extra one, John?
There should actually be a couple extras.
This is fire.
Do you need one?
Well, you've got
The one you
extras,
sent this morning?
John said. You've
General?
got it on the computer, too.
I don't have it.
You have general and fire?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got the date up and up.
What about this one? Is that your old one?
Yeah, that's my old one.
Okay. Yeah, I've got fire, I don't have general, but I've got my computer. That's why I brought it, just in case. I know what I want to talk about anyway.
Stuff in the kitchen.
Starting with general, correct?
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay,
Do you want to preface?
well, it's a relatively status quo budget. Relatively. You will see that we put in a 2.5% increase for all wages. That is consistent with what we've done the last couple of years. The wages and benefits have also been adjusted per contracts. So there's 3 contracts you have to be aware of. The AFSCME contract, which does include ANDRA at Township Hall. The professional and administrative contract, which includes, well, Brenda's an AFSCME also. Everyone else at Township Hall except for myself would be in the professional and admin, and then my contract. So that's all included in there. We had some minor inflationary adjustments for utility increases. We tried to keep costs flat for supplies, even though we know realistically the cost for those supplies is also going up. But that's just us trying to tighten the belts a little bit. So, revenues in the general fund, you will see we budgeted last year 2.64. We're budgeting 1.76 this year, so about $120,000 increase, which is actually still about $200,000 below our 2022 revenues in the general fund. So we're still trying to budget conservatively. There aren't any grant revenues expected next year as of right now. So I think it's a pretty straightforward budget from a revenue perspective.
Has anybody got any questions they want to start with? We can do a page at a time if you want. I have a couple things circled here. $8,500 for charges for services rendered. I was just wondering what that was. Is that kind of a hodgepodge of kind of halfway down the revenues?
Tell us the number.
626.
So, Kim, I know you don't have your BSNA software open in front of you, but we've changed that for this particular year to anticipated revenue of $8,500, seeing that we've already captured as of June $8,360. And that's significantly more than the 3 prior years. But I will say, Kim has been looking at every expenditure and revenue and making sure that they are recorded properly. Now, does that mean that they were not recorded properly before? No, it's a difference of opinion. And I generally have agreed with every change that Kim has made. Which specific revenues are showing up on this one, I guess I couldn't tell you, and I don't know that Kim would have been prepared to tell you that.
I can look and I can send out an email though.
Yeah, it's a big jump, that's why I kind of wondered. And I didn't know what it was either. If it's just, like I say, miscellaneous, any kind of oddball services that we do that don't have an account number.
I think I remember looking at it when I was preparing this and looking at, because the number was so different and believing that it was correct. So, but in order to tell you what exactly it was, I'll look it up and I can send out an email.
Okay, that would be good. Then you might do the same thing with the interest, 665.
That
Ernie?
one has been significantly increasing.
What?
We cashed out a whole bunch of excess funds in CDs because they were exceeding the 250,000.
Yeah.
And we also had some interest revenue that was properly allocated finally. We had been behind on it for a little bit, I believe.
Does that have to do with the spreadsheet maybe?
And
that we're trying to
the
do?
interest that I've been receiving from the deputy treasurer to enter into the system has been larger than it was when I first started. So I guess that would be a question to ask them.
I can tell you what it is. The interest wasn't being distributed
It
before.
makes-
We had a gap from when Dulcie went to contract
Right.
to when we got Andrew and Linda up to speed, where it just wasn't being allocated.
So we have a couple different things with the interest on the CDs. One of them is that we get checks periodically during the
Yes.
course of the year, quarterly or whatever. And another one, it goes back into the CD. So if you've got a $200,000 CD, the interest accrues over the end of the year, it ends up being $225 or whatever, okay? So we have two different ways where we're getting our interest, and I've been poking the bear to get that spreadsheet for you. We'll hopefully have it in the next few months, because Linda's working on that. So my question to you, I think months ago, was do we have an interest account that we're putting like the checks in
Yes.
that we get?
So you'll
Is that
notice,
this one? Is that
this one here is strictly just interest from the Incredible Bank.
Okay.
But you will see, I don't think there is one on here, but the other ones would say interest dash investment.
Okay.
And it would have a sub-account after, so it'd be like 665010 is typically what it is. So like the one that we had, that I was speaking to the other day about, that one goes to an interest investment. This one, I believe, is just the interest that I get from the deputy treasurer of Incredible Bank to enter on a monthly basis.
Incredible Bank is our regular checking account.
Correct.
So,
And it, like I said, since they've been giving it to me, the last few months have been significantly different than what they were.
But keep in mind, we were getting,
But the interest rates have been changing.
yeah, we've been getting 0.1% to multiple percentage points.
Correct.
Right.
Ernie was saying yesterday, 5.5.
I just
Well, that's
invested
for investment.
3 CDs. 4.6, 5.5, 5.55.
At,
3 months, 6 months, and 12 months.
at Incredible Bank?
No, this is at Raymond James. The Incredible Bank, I don't have them in front of me. We have 2 of them there at Incredible Bank, and they were all over around 5% at the time, and they were both for a year and that.
So we have a list of where we have
Yes.
investments? That's what we
Yeah, I
need
have-
to
yeah,
know?
we have a
It
list
hadn't
of-
been updated,
Yeah.
and then when Dulcie left, it still didn't get updated from December, so she came in March and updated, put all the interest in all the accounts, all the CDs, the checking account, we have a savings account, and Linda's looking at that and working with Kim to make sure it's all lined up.
All we need is a list of accounts and what's going on,
Yeah,
where money
but
is
it changes every
invested.
month.
Well, it doesn't change every month,
Yes,
does
it
it?
does.
So you mean the amount of money changes every month, not not where we're invested?
No, but as these
Right.
CDs come up, if it's a 3D,
Yeah.
3-month CD or something, Ernie's renewing them, or he's, trying to figure out where to put them or stuff. That's why I want to have you guys see.
Yeah, well, that's
Exactly
easy.
what
She
we
can,
have.
that's a spreadsheet, that's easy to do.
No, it's,
It's involved.
Well, you have to put the numbers in.
No, it's linked to, there's two different spreadsheets I want you guys to see that we used to get. We're working on them.
No, we
Okay,
have
when
CDs.
should we expect to see them?
I don't know.
Well-
It's between
Well,
Linda's and
that's hard then for asking, in my world, you have to give people dates to have things, the people receiving and the people doing the work.
What date do you want it?
I was hoping
If we
had
set
it
a date
before
and
the
make
budget
them
was
meet
done.
that date, then that's the expectation we
Right,
put on them.
right, so there you go. So Lynn, you're in charge.
But let's keep in mind, one of these people that's working on it is here on a compensated voluntary basis.
Yep.
Almost like paid on call.
Yep.
So she comes when she's available,
Yeah,
and
okay.
she works on it when she can. So if that's the expectation you want to put on her, also be willing to accept the risk of losing her.
So is 3 months too long or too short? That's what you have to ask the people who are employed.
I
If
would
that's what you
hope
want
that
me to ask, I can.
I'd like to have it done during this budget season. How long have I been bugging you about it? Probably 6 months.
I don't want to come in your office.
At least.
no.
I don't, he doesn't even want to talk to me anymore. Where's the spreadsheet?
But Lynn, maybe that's not a realistic expectation today. So that's,
Not today.
No.
yeah.
He's working with his deputy and the part-time employee to try, and Kim, to see how this has to be broken out.
So we need them to give us a realistic date and then we need to hold them to it.
Now, I have no idea what's involved in changing it. Dulcie
Mm-hmm.
came in and did
Yeah.
it in like,
No one knew,
An
no one
hour.
had access to it.
yeah.
That was the
the other
problem.
thing, we couldn't find it.
Yeah, couldn't
I
find
had a
it.
printout that was old from December.
Yeah, well, so that is because
changeover
Dulcie
was-
did that and didn't share
Caused
that.
Some problems, yeah.
Now,
It's
as far
just-
as CDs, we've got like Incredible Bank, we have them at Raymond James, we have them at First Bank, we have them at
Range,
Range, and where?
Nicolay.
Nicolay. So they're all coming due at different times. You have to look, and I asked John, I asked Lenny, I said, what's coming up in the next 6 months to a year? Do I invest it for 3 months, 6 months, or a year to see what we got going in that? And like Raymond James, I'm talking to him the other day. He said, you got $1.6 million sitting there in cash, really what amounts to, because it's all sweep accounts all over. So that's why I moved it over to CDs. I get better interest rates and that, and we still got almost $700,000 sitting there available if we need it. And under Raymond James, the way it is set up is that it's no one department, it's on a percentage basis, so that dollars is spread across all the departments in that. So when we get interest on something, it's spread against all the departments in the township and that.
That's the complication of the spreadsheets.
Yeah.
So picture this. Raymond James is the bigger one that has, like he said,
Mm-hmm.
most money, okay? So the general fund has, I'm throwing numbers out, $250,000 in that. And it's not, these are not CDs yet, this was cash, okay? Public Works has $800,000. Fire Department has $250,000. So it's a big spreadsheet, and it's money that's part of everything that we're doing, okay? Besides the checkbook for Incredible Bank, okay? That's paying the bills and doing everything else. But some of the money is just kind of sitting there. Some of it is already, here's your CIP, okay? It's money that we've taken for other stuff over the years, over this year, the taxes. So that's why it's so hard to get it apportioned out. And when the interest comes on the Raymond James account, because there's 6 or 7 departments in there, you've got to do a percentage, and that's part of the spreadsheet. It's got the calculations in there. And this spreadsheet's linked to another one that's the treasurer's report. So it isn't just a matter of going in and changing the numbers, because you have to make sure that if you're plugging interest in too, that it's, interest on $200,000 is different than interest on $800,000.
Yeah.
Public Works might have $800,000.
We do need to know how much money is
Yeah.
where. That's the
So,
bottom line.
Some of it is just sitting there, and some of it's already accounted for. So
Did
it's
we-
not like we're just super flush
And
with.
with the Raymond James sweep account, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's out into 10 financial institutions. They set it up. They're responsible for it, but they're all at $245,000. They don't go over 250 at that point in time.
So each $245,000 increment is FDIC insured
Yeah.
Correct.
in its own sweep account.
And even at one point, that 245 might be made up of 3 different departments.
And it can go over
Because
the
I asked
245 with interest, but,
No,
you know.
it can't go over, because they're under, our rules is that if it goes over 250, they have to move it immediately. It can't go over
It
250.
can go over, and then the rule is that they move it. It can go over.
Well, they
Yes.
haven't, it hasn't happened yet. They're moving it
We're
relatively
arguing
fast.
semantics
Yeah,
now.
it's not,
Yeah.
so Lynn,
Getting in the
so the
rules.
thing is, when do you want them to have it to us by?
If John can ask Linda how close we are to having it, I don't know. But that's the first
Can I
step.
ask a question real quick?
What?
Kim, does this have to happen in a spreadsheet? Is BSNA capable of
I
doing it?
I was writing that down to see if there's a way to get those investments.
I would like to
into
look at
your
that
estimate.
first, because if the spreadsheet is the problem, maybe we don't need the spreadsheet.
Right.
Maybe we need it to be automatically entered into BSNA.
We have a lot of spreadsheets that are unnecessary.
Correct. So this is part of the transformation of old dog to new dog. Kim wants to use this expensive software to the maximum extent it's capable. And if it means we can eliminate unattached documents that have to be updated separately from what she's already doing every day, or what Ernie's staff is doing every day, we don't need to wait for a spreadsheet. She can print a report.
That would be grand.
Today, I mean, every day, every time you can.
Once it's in
Yeah.
there, right?
Once
Yeah.
the bank statements are.
And even though it's expensive software, you will decrease your time for paying employees.
We're already there.
Yeah, so you just have to tell us when you're ready, because Lynn's right, we want to know how much money we have and where it is.
Yeah, I can
That,
reach
that
out.
money is really, the report you're talking about will be going to the board and the staff only. Won't be going out to the community. Because you figure what would happen if someone found out the dollars we have in these different financial institutions. We're trying to plan ahead for emergencies and 3 and 4 months of something else.
We're funding CIPs.
Yeah, we're
Right,
trying-
and we just need to have that written down so we can show people when they ask us why we have that money. People do have a right to know how much money we have, Ernie.
That's true.
They do. I don't think we need to publish it,
Right.
but I
That's what
do
he's-
think that if someone asks us, we better be able to explain it.
Right, which is why I've been pushing to get
Right,
this to you
so
guys,
other
so
than
you
that,
know.
we can probably just continue along here.
Can I
Lynn?
add one other comment to that? Something that I've mentioned to a couple of you recently, probably in the last year or so, multiple occasions. The board's current stance is 4 months of operating revenue in reserve or fund balance. Revenue only comes in for the general fund twice a year. What happens if you don't have one of those rounds of revenue come in? You're 4 months in, you're now broke. Maybe 6 months is the right amount.
Is that the trend? Is that what the recommendation is from the experts?
The auditors are always saying 4 to 6 months. They prefer 6 months if you can afford it. If you can't, then they're going to say, okay, 4 months is going to be enough. We haven't always been in the position to say 6 months is what we should shoot for. I think we're getting there.
We have a policy that says 3 or 4 months because that's kind of what was recommended. The conference I went to last week confirmed minimum 3 to 4 months is what they expected, because he asked the group, how much should you have? And I answered 3 to 4 months. He goes, that's what I'm looking for. So John suggested to me a while back that we think about 6 because of that, you know, the way our money comes in, that we might need to look at that. So that would come from some of these spreadsheet funds.
You've mentioned that to us before. You'd like to see 6 months for that particular reason.
It increases your safety net.
So is that a policy change?
It would be.
So then maybe we should do that.
Well, we gotta decide.
Yeah, it's
See how
always good
much-
to have more
see
than
how much money
less,
it needs,
right?
And do we have it available now, or do we have to save for it? So, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Or
then
do we
you
have
have
to
to
take
turn
it
around
out?
and explain to the taxpayers why you're wanting to hold on to 2 months more of their money, right?
Well, they
So,
should
it's a
understand
challenge.
that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we'll explain that.
Right.
Another thing, we have to come up with how many dollars that is for every department, so we know where
That's
we're
not hard.
sitting.
Yeah, they can do that. They know that.
They're all looking at you, Kim.
Okay, so
well, Kim does
it's
know
not
that.
just your rainy day fund, but you also have your CIPs, your reserve accounts, all that, or your fixed asset accounts in public works. You know, any significant money that Dan's saving is for his next big purchase. And some people might look at that and say, you don't need that much money, but when it's time to make the
Yeah.
purchase, he needs to borrow from the general fund to make it, or pay a significant cost increase by waiting 8 months.
Or the interest is high. But
Yep.
people will understand that because they also understand when their furnace dies, they have to find the money somewhere. I mean, you just have to write it at a level that people are comfortable with, understand. But I think, you know, I can tell you that some people I know probably have a year's worth. Okay?
But if you've got good information.
Yes, then we
you
can
tell
share
people,
that information,
And
right?
we can talk about it at the board level and change the policy if we need to.
And just like Huntington Bank, well, Dulcie had too many dollars in some CDs, so she moved over to the Huntington Bank general fund to break it out. So I have, right now, I just got it and I have to give this to Kim, for it shows the interest. We got $255,575 in there right now. I can only go over 105% over 250.
Right.
So then we have to figure out what we're going to do. I got to talk to John to see what we're going to do. If not, I want to bring that down to 240, and that, if anything. So
Right.
that gives me $15,000 I have to do something with.
We'll help you spend that. We have some ideas,
That's what I was
okay?
thinking. If
Yeah,
we had-
really.
Whoa, we haven't gotten to the expenditures
Yeah,
part of the budget
let's
yet.
finish how much money we really have.
That's general fund money. This money is all general
Right,
fund.
that's what we need to know, Ernie, that's what
Well,
Lynn
that's
is,
what we're talking
yeah,
about.
so that's where we are, so.
And that's where I'd like to see that interest account be what that is, if we're getting checks, so that we can look in each department and say, okay, we've made $25,000 this year in interest for everybody. What do we do with it?
Pay down
Put
our
it-
debt.
Yeah, do we put it in another account? Do, you know,
Yeah.
do we spend it on whatever we have?
Okay, can I tell you the way it's been done throughout all of history of the township? When you get that money comes in, it goes into the fund balance.
Yes, Randy always did that.
That's not Randy. That's
He-
standard practice.
But he always said that's what he wanted it to do. Same thing with the communication money. We wanted to split it out to use it for IT from charter, and he would always put it in the general fund. And he'd say, well, it's in
Okay,
there.
so uniform
And it
chart of
gets
accounts
lost.
is the other part. This isn't a business budget. This is a government budget.
Yeah, it's different.
So it might drive you crazy that that's the way it's done, but this is the way the state wants us to do it. If you want to create a separate account, fund accounting for a specific revenue and associated expenditures, that's what you need to tell us. And we have to find out how to do that in the uniform chart of accounts. But you can see these budgets, and it's not unique to Marquette Township.
No.
No.
Go to every municipal government throughout the country. They're going to have 20 to 30 lines of revenue in their general fund. You could take every single one of those lines and create your own fund account for it. Bad idea. Kim's not going to stay here.
She loves
In
us.
fact, I might not, because that's not the way everyone else does it. I'm not saying we can't do some things different if they're easy enough to manage, but we don't want to reinvent the wheel because we want to micromanage a specific small percentage of the revenues for the year. You can say, this is how we want it reserved to spend, and that's perfectly fine. We just need to track it better. And I think Kim is figuring out the ways to do that in the software. I mean, even the CIP stuff, how we're designating here what money is already set aside for the next patrol vehicle. I think she can now do that within the BSNA software so that when you get the monthly financial statements, it's going to actually show there, oh yeah, we have $150,000 sitting there waiting for Forestville Road. Instead of relying on mine or your own memories based on recent actions that were taken, right?
And John was just saying the other day that maybe, I don't know if Kim might have said it, that CIP can come out of the BSNA software too. We don't even have to do it that way.
We're finding out more and more can be used with that software.
Yeah, the training that I went to.
That training, you said, really
Yeah.
opened up a whole different perspective in that too, so.
Well, I want everyone to know as soon as she asked to do the training, I said absolutely. There's no reason why we shouldn't give her the best tools possible to give you what you want to do your job.
Which is just as important for you guys to get training too when you can. The budget, John's right, the budget papers that I had from the conference last week, they're the same exact account numbers. They look just exactly like ours.
It's the uniform chart of accounts. We didn't create
So they all
that. The
have
state
same
did.
stuff.
Actually, it might have even been federal treasury that created it. I'm not sure.
So this is all good information for you guys, because you do get the questions.
So there are
You'll be
money,
able to
but it's
ask.
all committed. We really look down to it. Sure, there's some extra stuff out there, but we have to have that extra stuff in case something happens and that we have no control over. And that example, when the car hit the fire hydrant, things had to be paid right now. Do all that. Sure, may get something from the insurance and that, but until that point comes, we have to pay it up front. So it's all these little things in that. And they're not $300-400. You're talking about thousands of dollars that have to come up relatively quick. And that.
So John, not many changes in revenues, really.
No, I mean, the ones that Lynn pointed out are clearly different, but we're trying not to project significantly different because we want to be conservative on that. If we underestimate on the revenues, it means the fund balance will increase more, assuming the spending doesn't exceed what we're planning. And we always overestimate on the expenditures part, so that in the end, what starts as a $2,000 difference hopefully ends up being 20 or more because we don't spend everything that we anticipated.
Which is at the end of the year, those adjustments that we make at the end of December.
Right, people expect government and education to be conservative. That's the expectation.
Yep. And
Even
that's
though
why
they're
I'm
not.
also saying that 6 months
Yep,
of
I agree
operating.
with that. Yeah.
I just have a question on the computer center user fees. I'm looking at 22 and I'm looking at 23. There's almost a $10,000 differential in that.
So Ernie, tell us where you are, because I don't see 22 and 23.
651.
651.
Oh, 650. Okay.
Oh, community center, okay.
Oh.
Community center. I'm looking at 22 and I'm looking at 23.
Well, we weren't open for a while, remember, because of COVID, so we had a lower.
Either that or that may,
Yeah, we had less people renting during COVID.
Okay.
maybe
Yeah, I would guess.
Okay, you can circle that and
Yeah.
see if it makes sense.
possible that it might be a typo.
That's
because
for
it is a
that's
term.
for already audited numbers though, so we'll have to
True.
figure out.
It might have just been a typo when I put it on here, if it is, but
Oh, it might not be 16.
it might be 63.95, not 16.
Oh, okay.
I'm wondering if I hit.
Okay.
Easy to do, Kim.
Yeah.
So there you can see a perfect example. We're averaging just over $6,000 a year in revenue. We're only anticipating 6 of it. So anything over that should ultimately go into the fund balance at the end of the year. We're not predicting that to be a major source of revenue for the township.
It was expected the community foundation would be here for the residents, so it wasn't going to be a moneymaker. That's what we told the residents.
The other thing that you need to be aware of is that transfer in from the wastewater fund of $10,000 that we did until 2022 is going away. If we ever want to consider USDA funds, transfers from the utility accounts to the general fund will have to be eliminated before they'll consider even giving us a dime.
So maybe refresh my memory. Why do we have a transfer in from the fire department? department, or is that not the fire
That
department?
pays their mortgage.
Oh, that's their mortgage payment.
Yep.
Okay, yep, that's pretty important to know. So they transfer it in and we pay it?
Correct. Yeah, we only have one mortgage payment for the two buildings.
That's right, we did it all together, and,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, and that's what they pay.
Maybe if this building gets paid off, they can just pay it themselves from now on.
Or maybe we can just pay it all off and be done.
It's the same person paying the
Right,
bill.
yeah. Let's get rid of all our bills.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because when we get to the debt payment cost center, you'll see that I'm planning to pay additional principal on this building debt next year. And ultimately, if we sell the property over there, you can add another $500,000.
Right.
Yes,
So think about it this way. It's not in the budget currently because the property's not sold. But if it does sell, Kim will enter another $500,000 worth of revenue under purchase or sale of property. Where is it?
sale of assets.
assets.
Sale of assets. So under 673, we currently have nothing shown there. If we sell the property, we'll get $500,000. It'll show up here. And then you can elect to say, let's do what we always plan to do. Make a direct payment on the debt of this building. So then you'll see under debt payments for Township, let's see, Community Center Fire Hall, an additional $500,000 added there under expenditures. So it's a money in, money out, and it doesn't impact your bottom line.
And the residents would be happy with that. No one likes to pay high interest rates. So, my
Which is
guess
why we
is
paid some of those debts off.
correct, and we can explain.
Yeah, those debts
I can explain
were
that.
more like debt snowball payments, right? We picked off the smallest ones, and now we're going to the next one, which is the building. Something that the fire department has already been doing on their portion of it.
So Carl, jump in if you, because we've been doing this a while, you know, and if there's any questions, absolutely.
We may be snowballing him too with everything.
Yeah, there's a lot going
I
on.
know, we just did all this at our church and man.
You want more money too,
No,
right?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So at 695 on the revenues, is there a reason that it's there with nothing? I just don't want to miss something.
No.
Okay. Okay, that's all I was questioning on the revenues.
695.
It's just
So
empty.
issuance of long-term debt.
Oh, we're not planning on any loans or anything like that next year.
I was just wondering why it was on there with zeros.
It just
Normally-
means we haven't done any recently.
Okay.
So you have to go at least prior to 2020 to see anything there. Can it be removed from the report now that it's beyond those 3 years? I think so.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, so before we publish it, we will hide that line.
Okay.
You won't hide it, you just remove it.
Well, it just hides.
Yeah.
It's not going to show on the
Yeah.
printed version when we're done with it.
Okay,
How's that?
okay.
Kim and I will do rock, paper, scissors on whether it's deleted or hidden.
They're all hidden.
You want to get into the expenditures? I don't want to rush
Yes,
anybody.
please.
If you've got questions, just stop us. This is the time to talk about it.
Township Board, this is your opportunity to speak up about any changes that you would like to see for you. This is the entire Township Board, but it also includes the compensation for 4 trustees.
Yeah, travel and conference for the officers is separated in their accounts. So that's just your travel and conferences for you guys, for the trustees.
But there are some things like dues and subscriptions that cover the whole
The
board
whole
that only
board,
show
but-
up in
yeah.
this category.
So the travel and conference was for just the trustees?
It is, yeah.
Correct.
I'm
So
wondering-
if all 4 trustees went to the state meeting,
We would do a budget amendment.
okay, because only 1 trustee went to the state meeting last year,
Yeah, just you.
and it was $1,500? So then the treasurer's was 15 and Lynn's was 15?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Because yes, I really encourage that everyone go. Everyone
If you
should
can
go.
find the time to do it, it's
Yeah,
worthwhile.
go.
I've had very many complications where I couldn't go, you know, with my wife. And this past year, I hate to say it, because of my damn dog.
They're worse than kids. Somebody would just say
Oh,
that.
I just had nobody to take care of her. She's 13 years old, so
Yeah, but if you can.
I would love to go. I really would love to go.
Yeah, so that might have to just be a budget amendment then, unless you want to add it early.
I would recommend you stick with a number that's reasonably close to the historical number. And if you have a year where enough of you go and we have to do a budget amendment,
It'll raise.
it's not that hard, right, Kim? She has to do these every quarter anyway.
Okay.
Unless you know specifically going into next year that you all intend to go to the same conference that's going to put us over budget.
I thought we
But
were going to go to New Orleans this
We've
year.
only done that one year where all 7 of us went.
Really? Well, anyways, that's just what, yeah, so keep going, John, sorry.
Stayed the same.
They think, yeah.
So pretty much everything stayed the same except for the increases that we voted on last year.
It's staying consistent with that, correct?
So
So when you
Like
adopt the
explain
budget,
that.
all township elected and appointed officials will get that 2.5% increase on January 1. And
I think
that's,
that should be like 10%.
I know for us.
Yeah.
They're getting more every time
No,
they
you get
more.
2.5, we get 10.
No, you've always gotten a lot more.
You're probably
so
getting a lot more than
I
we
think,
are.
I think we should.
can I paint that with a different brush?
No.
The more you give yourselves, the more you have to give the employees eventually.
So the reason is that the employees are getting 2.5.
Correct.
So everybody in the township, our
Same.
firemen, everybody
All
gets
the same.
2.5.
Because
Yeah.
there was 9 years that the board did not get a raise.
Right.
I think that works out great.
Randy and I
really
brought it
do.
up, and it
It's-
was his
yeah.
suggestion that everybody get whatever the raise is, so we don't fall behind.
Yeah, and easy to explain then, the cost of living and whatever. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
you're not getting rich on it, put it that way.
No, no.
We're not doing this to get rich.
Total salaries for 4 of you is just under 17.5 for the full year. I don't know, I'd say that's bargain price for employees. Indentured servants.
Yeah.
Okay, are we good on the township board?
Yes.
Yep.
Professional services, I'm recommending no changes over the current budget year. Everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
It looks like we're generally on target there, short of the engineering fees. But you know, that one again, I also would say let's keep the $30,000 place marker in there. And if we go over on a given year, know that that's part of what that rainy day fund is for, because we get into a lot of different projects that you have to hire a consultant for that you hadn't planned on. And the money's there. You don't have to do a budget amendment if you stay under, or you will if you go over.
Stay the same.
Yep. And any cost center that we can keep as close to the same as possible shows that we are being pretty diligent with how the township taxpayers' money is being spent. And it still looks like we're staying generally there. We do have minor inflationary adjustments here and there, but not all over the place. Supervisor, again, I don't think Lynn had I didn't ask her specifically if she had any proposed changes, so maybe now would be the time.
No, not really. If I get a chance to go to MTA in April, but otherwise.
Yeah, and the budget's there for travel and conference, so
Stay the same.
stay the same. Township manager, stay the same, except a 10% increase, right?
Along with mine.
Remember what I was just telling you?
Dan and I.
Comes out of the trustee budget then.
And I'm not even sure if that's exactly the number that goes in my paycheck, because Kim does it all.
And your wife gets a check.
Goes in the
Actually,
bank.
That's the way it goes, yeah. I fill the tank on my car to get here every day. That's about how much I get.
I think it's pretty well set. There's really not much you can do about it then. It's
Well,
there.
questioning hospitalization. I'm getting a 5% increase, and I think you said you were going to put 10 in? He's looking at you, Kim.
I know, I'm looking.
I looked through all the hospitalizations and they're all light.
Well, the hospitalization did go up 10%.
But 10%
For this
that
year.
would be $3,000.
Okay.
We don't have a number.
So let's go back and look at these and recalculate all of the hospitalizations across the entire general fund, fire department, public works, and make sure there's a 10% increase in there. That is going to require me to reduce something somewhere else, and it's probably the additional principal payment on this building.
If you look at this
Well,
year
it
to
did
date,
go.
it's 16,000, okay? Assuming that becomes 32,
That was their June, yeah.
and you take 5%, you add 5%, it's 33,000.
Right.
So that's why I'm thinking it needs to be another 5, if that's what you suggested.
It should be 30,016 plus 10%.
Well, no, John, because it was more than that. It was
Plus 10% will
16
get you
times 2.
33,000.
Look at your 16.
Okay, but
Is that
do you
not right?
guarantee that it's only, that we're gonna pay exactly the same for the remainder of the year?
Oh, we
Does
don't, I
Kim
don't
know if that was
Kim
6
would
or
know.
7 months worth of payments?
So
Because this
she
was
would
as
have
of
to-
June.
30.
It could have been July payment already made.
Oh, so yeah, so maybe you did put 10% in.
I'll double check.
Okay, there we go.
Well,
Perfect.
I think it should be 30,016 plus 10%.
Then that's what's there, right?
Okay.
10% of 30,000 is
When I'm looking
another
at this, I take
3,000.
the 6 months and double it, so I've got. a
Yeah, me
frame
too,
of-
so we have a
of
different
reference.
picture, yeah.
That's
I
an
didn't think
easy way to
about
do it,
Correct.
but you gotta
Okay,
make
good.
sure how many payments were
Payments
already
are-
paid when this,
Ah,
because this is through June, so the July payment could have been made already.
Yeah.
Okay,
oh, good point. Good job.
okay. Because I think everyone I checked, I've got circled, the hospitalization was the same, so that might be the case.
Okay.
The
But I-
30
yeah.
Kim and I will
30,000 might be
double
right.
check that.
Yep.
I have it. Okay.
Is the repair and maintenance on the supervisor? He's not gonna answer me.
Repair and maintenance.
Yeah, are we repairing and maintaining you on 930?
Oh, manager?
Yeah.
Not me. Yeah, I'm over the hill, just give it up.
I've got the oil can in my bag.
I'm not exactly
We're not quite sure what that is, right?
Well, we spent $60 last year, and it must have been something for my office, and I can't remember what I would have had Andy do.
That's
But
funny, John.
If it's specific to my office, it could also be under building and grounds, so.
Yeah, anyways, pretty funny. Okay.
The clerk?
Clerk's budget is fine. You're gonna see a increase in the salary full-time with the effects of a proposed reclassification. That's gonna be the major increase in my clerk's budget. So we'll go to that later.
And honestly, given the restructuring we're looking at, it should probably be removed from your budget completely and put in
The
general services admin.
Probably, yeah.
Because Kim wouldn't be the assistant clerk
Yeah,
anymore. She would be the finance director,
Well, she'll,
not accountant assistant.
she'll
clerk.
still cut the checks, which I'm sort of responsible for, so a portion of that, but not all of it.
I
So,
wouldn't put any in yours.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
No, It's
No.
not your responsibility.
well, it is, I do have to write
Well,
the
you
checks.
signing and that's different. than-
Well, technically I have to write. Kim does my job by writing.
It's not uncommon in
So,
fund
however-
accounting like this to distribute a portion of her
Yeah,
wages there.
just so we
Could be like a
understand.
not-
Not
Not
the full
100% of
amount,
it when that's not her primary duty.
So that'll probably change when, if we figure out where that's going. We'll portion that out differently.
Once we get through the reclassification, we can figure out what percentage makes the most sense to be there, and we know a certain percent should be there, 5 or 10, something like that.
Yeah, and I'm planning on not traveling too far because I'm gonna have a busy year next year. So I have 3 elections to administrate, plus 9 days of early voting for each. So I'm gonna be pretty much stuck here.
Well, you like to do the Harris one if it's.
Yeah, I do
if
that,
they
and I
have one.
might get to Arizona for a month, or not for a month, but a
really?
couple weeks.
Wow.
Wow, Daryl's gonna put up with that.
But that's not township related.
Don't we all need that training?
But that's not township related though. So you'll see not much change in my budget if, the reclassification is the major one where that'll be probably reapportioned, so.
I don't see that on a line item as far as travel expenses to Arizona.
No.
It's travel and conference.
So, any questions on the clerk's budget?
I think it's there.
Okay.
What have you paid this year for the 500? Do you know?
I did go to one in Harris, and I
Well,
will,
that'd have been travel and conference. I mean,
Yeah.
miscellaneous.
yeah, and, I am gonna go to one at the NIMSA in December. And that's it. I'm not going.
She's asking what
The
we spent 500 miscellaneous
we had
on this
some.
year.
To buy a computer, no.
Oh, there was various things. I did take some of the stuff, the boardroom supplies, I put in my budget for like technology stuff, so
So,
some of that stuff was hitting in my budget because, recording of the meetings and such is sort of, for the minutes and such. So I did hide some of it in that budget for me, so.
It's not hidden, but it's.
Well, I buried it in my
Because
budget.
this is actual, it's not a budget amount.
Yeah, well, what I did is I asked him what do we have left in my budget for this year, and that's where I took some of that money from, so, for some boardroom stuff, like the TV stuff.
Yeah, we had like notary renewal for you.
Yeah, just various
Just like
stuff,
miscellaneous,
yeah.
really small. I don't like the word miscellaneous, but.
Yeah, I don't either. Okay, that's fine.
so notary renewals could go under dues and subscriptions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whatever, it's just a,
Uh,
Just had a few.
for Kim's sake, anything that goes under miscellaneous, you and I should discuss it before it actually goes into the computer, because
That would be great.
we will have this conversation every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it
And I
wouldn't
can
hurt
tell
to
you it was
have
much
it in
bigger
the
before I
comments.
landed in this role.
Accountants don't like the word miscellaneous.
Yeah, I
No,
to
told
begin
her.
with.
I never do. And then maybe put it in
I don't
comments.
know where it is.
500 is not a lot,
No,
but it's an oddball.
Right.
When you don't see anything in there.
yeah.
My recommendation is if we can find a different line item to put it in,
Supplies.
maybe
we'll
under
get out of here a
supplies
lot
or
quicker next year.
Yeah, supplies works well for any paper, any supply items.
Okay, otherwise good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Board of Review, I think, is pretty self-explanatory, but there is miscellaneous spent every year in there, and I don't know what it's for.
It's probably for your
Lunch.
meals, for the
We
meals.
pay them for the March Board of Review food. One day it's lunch and the next day it's dinner.
So that's probably what that is, yeah.
More than likely. So if you've got a different account, you want to put it in. I'm guessing that's what it is.
I mean, yeah, I guess we could.
It could actually be like supplies.
It could, yeah.
So let's change that 200 in miscellaneous to supplies, so you'll have to add a 726 line. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And then we had that budget or we didn't have a budget in the education and training, but they had to take those classes. So
Every
that's
2
why-
years they have to.
I'm not sure why they were zero previously to that, but.
I'm not sure they did any training before I got it from MTA that we had to do this. It may not have been mandatory either until a few years ago.
That law did change, that it became mandatory.
Yeah.
Yeah, so instead of correcting the dark store issue, they made it more difficult for Board of Review decisions to be made.
Okay. Treasurer.
Wow. It's fine. Let's go on to the
Yeah, I
next
didn't
one.
have any questions.
The only big difference there is the part-time staff cost, because we went from having nobody to now having 3 part-timers, to which will then become 2 to some extent.
Yes, that'll come down.
Well, and it'll actually end up being 1. Ultimately, Amy will be the only one.
Right,
Right now, Linda is training both her and Andrew,
right.
and we assume Andrew's role is going to change when your role changes.
Yeah.
That's an assumption.
Someone's role is gonna change.
We assume that something like that's going to happen. Yep. Yeah, I mean, we have to expect something.
an easy part. Easy one.
Assessor.
Assessor. So I have heard rumors that the assessor has problems with her budget,
With what our budget is.
but there were no complaints sent directly to me from anybody about the general fund. So if any staff has a problem with it, it's their own fault for not saying so because I sent it to them. There's some pot stirring going on, and that's just too bad because I didn't propose any significant changes. In fact, computer services I increased to accommodate actual operating costs. So, if anything, they should be happy that I did that without asking them to. And really what that's doing is reflecting what happened in 21 and 22.
And we don't have anything this year then, yet.
What do you mean?
There's nothing
There's nothing through June so far been spent. But
Yeah, but I think that's Apex. Actually, I just got the invoice
Yes,
for the
we did.
Apex
I was just
software.
gonna say, I put it in your box last week, so.
It's sitting on my desk.
Yeah,
Okay.
came like Monday.
So this
Yep.
is for 2 people, right? There are 2 people that work in that
Correct.
department? Okay.
Yep, so there's the contract wages for Dulcie and the union wages for Janelle.
Okay.
And then everything they need to do their jobs. And they are taking advantage of education and training a little bit more this year because they hadn't for a while around COVID. We good?
Yeah.
what would they have in repair and maintenance?
For $250, it could be anything.
Broken computer. Need a,
Doesn't look
No,
like
probably not computer. It would
spend
be
it.
Like a chair or something, maybe.
for $250. It could be anything,
Yeah.
really.
Doesn't matter, I just wonder. Miscellaneous makes sense, but they don't have any history on repair.
I don't know. I'd be okay eliminating the miscellaneous $100 out of that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would too. That's like a very seldom used.
we're getting rid of miscellaneous all over the board.
Yeah, if we can. Okay.
Elections, I'm not sure you can do that unless we're changing miscellaneous, moving the miscellaneous to supplies.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Or
Yeah, you
if there's
could-
another account number, depends on what's in there.
Well, I think miscellaneous is the meals and
Yeah.
such. That's what that is.
So supply, why don't we just move that to supplies then? Change the 4,000 to 12,000.
You can do that. It doesn't matter to me. So elections, you can see the cost has went up significantly. It's doubled from 2022. The reason is because we have 3 elections, 9 days of early voting, so that's required staff time or hire additional hours for election inspectors to cover that. I'm going to have planning on Amy is going to help me with, and my deputy is going to help with doing absentee ballots this year. So when Amy's not busy doing treasurer stuff, which that doesn't keep, that's not as busy when she gets it done. She's going to help with the other part there. And so I figured those wages into that because you got to realize we went from almost 500 or 600 absentee voters in 2020 to over 1,300. So we've doubled. And as Lynn knows and Ernie knows and the ones that have helped know, absentee ballots are very labor intensive.
Yes, yes.
And getting those things out on a timely manner is as the priority because I get 45 days to get them out and we try to get them out ASAP so people have them, we can do it. But that's the dilemma I have is, we're getting more mandates, but we're not getting and hopefully the state has said they were going to try to help with some funding, but I'm not holding my breath on that. So
The only way that'll happen, downstate, and they figure out what the cost is, then the pressure will come from those people downstate. Up here means nothing.
No.
And when you get Detroit and Oakland County and everything else, saying, hey, we don't pay for all this. You want to do it?
They
No.
have more votes.
They have more votes and they have more pressure.
That did come up last week too. They mentioned the funding again. You told me that before I left.
Yeah, and with the early voting, we are a shared site with Powell Township, so Powell Township will help share in some cost of that because their residents will utilize that service here too, so.
And keep in mind, we don't have that showing in this budget as a revenue. So,
Yeah, so,
again, we're being conservative.
Yeah, play it through 1 year.
so I'm meeting with their clerk on Friday here, so we're gonna try to figure out a game plan and how to staff the early voting site with their workers in mind.
So February, there's an election?
End of
Yeah.
February or early March. They hasn't figured it out yet.
And then in
August
August?
and in November. And possibly in May, but that wouldn't, we wouldn't be on the hook for that because that would be a reimbursable.
Is
But
that school?
yeah, that would, they would be completely reimbursed by the school district if we had one in May.
I haven't heard anything about
I haven't
that.
heard anything, but it could be a possibility. So the only problem I have is we pay our elections inspectors a little bit more than Powell Township, so we're gonna have to figure out well, either that or they're gonna pay their workers what we pay ours, so.
Or they're gonna pay a mileage.
Or, well, I think they're gonna pay them mileage regardless.
Well,
So me and Mitch are gonna talk on Friday about how we're gonna do this, start doing, planning for this. Because it is gonna be, it's all new, so we gotta try to figure out a plan, so. I was thinking maybe his workers could staff one day, mine will staff the next, and then, kind of go back and forth. Or he could send one worker a day and I'll cover two or something. You know what I mean? We'll figure that out. I gotta have at least 3 people here, so.
How many precincts are we going to have here, Randy?
Early voting, we'll only have 1 here. That'll be the one, but we'll still have 2 for next year.
Okay.
1 here and 1 at the church. But looking forward, we're gonna move everything here after next year, so.
But
I don't wanna confuse anyone for next year,
As
so.
far as early voting, everything will be here.
Yes, yeah, everything will be here. So that's the reason why I can probably dump the church in the future, because your election day crowd will be probably smaller. And actually, I'm considering too, they're rewriting the law that we could go back to 1 precinct because right now at 3,000 voters, you have to split, and now the law is being rewritten that you can be up to 5,000. So we could consolidate back to 1 and just have it here. So that would be, it's not going to affect the voters really much, other than I won't have to have two rooms booked up. We can just have it all in
And
here.
you won't have to be in 2 places at the same time.
No, we won't. So I'm probably going to do that too, is reconsolidate back to 1. And then if we go over 5,000, I probably won't be here when that happens.
has to get through the legislature.
So anyway, that's the elections budget, and that's why it's double of what it cost in 2022.
So did you say we're gonna move the miscellaneous to supplies?
Yeah, we'll do that.
I'm going to propose to do that in every cost center in the general fund, so that the dollar amount doesn't change,
Right.
but we don't have anything showing in miscellaneous.
Okay. Building and grounds.
Well, the biggest change there is contract adjustments, but also the 10% reduction in energy costs because of the solar project. I suspect it will be significantly more than that. But if we only budget a 10% savings and end up recognizing a 25 to 50% savings, the budget will look a whole lot better at the end of the year. And next year we'll certainly dial that in more with a half year's worth of new info to base it off of. Assuming that it still gets installed in December like they're planning.
December.
So our
December.
water and sewer usage, you increased it based on maybe a recommended increase in fees?
I did not increase it.
Those two.
It's the same as the current year budget.
Do you think you need to do that? Or are you down low enough that you'll make it?
I think it depends on the year. 2022, our sewer was over budget. Our water was well under, at least what we're currently proposing, but that was only 1 year.
Is that the COVID year?
Well, sewer shouldn't have been over budget in a COVID year. That was,
People wash their hands more.
2020.
but it was over by $72, so
I
I'm
know.
guessing the cost center was fine.
Just you decide, John, if you want to add more or not.
I don't think I want to.
Okay. We addressed it, so.
If Lenny was recommending a 5% increase in both water and wastewater, then we should reflect it. His recommendations are very minimal. I would say we don't have to worry about it yet.
Okay.
General service.
Okay, so the first thing I want to do there is take that $22.50 out of miscellaneous and put it into supplies.
Yeah,
So change supplies to $72.50. And it's clear that we've historically been putting stuff there that maybe doesn't quite fit the supplies, but I think if we can marginally justify it as a supply, that's where it's going to go. No other significant changes proposed.
Everything's straightforward.
Computer services, I've got circled. I know we're estimating high for the rest of the year, so there's something.
Is that for
coming
new
up.
computers too, John? You're looking at new computers possibly?
Not in that line, no.
No, okay.
In the capital.
So computer services would be from Integris then, right?
Correct. And I can tell you, in the beginning of the year, we had a lot of one-time costs. Now we're mostly paying our monthly contract costs. So if you're going to just double the 43.5 from the first half of the year and assume we're under at 80, that's not a good analysis.
Okay.
So that might be a little high, real high number.
Anything that's not part of the contract, we have to pay for separately, and we had a bunch of it early in the year.
So what do you think?
So isn't it like $3,500 a month or something? Is our regular, I can't remember.
Well, there's multiple invoices because
Yeah.
the licenses that we pay for are invoiced separate from that.
Okay.
I couldn't give you the number off the top of my
There's one
head.
that's like 35 or 36, and there's this one 680 something.
Okay.
So
And
we'll
we're
let-
still paying for some licenses with 906 until
Right.
November and April.
One of those is like
Because-
130. And
Yep.
Actually, I just had to get one too, because when I couldn't get on the server, he said my license had expired.
It says lots of crazy stuff sometimes.
Hopefully not with 906.
No, it was Integris
Okay.
I was talking to.
yeah.
Okay, so 80's okay. And then I had circled the hospitalization, but we're going to look at that.
Yep, across all funds.
Okay. Law enforcement?
Yeah, this is one of those elephants in the room. If you go back to page 1, under the top line taxes, police millage is projected at $115,000. Our contract is expected to be in the vicinity of $225,000 plus the $10,000 for upset if you want to continue that commitment. And I don't have it stated here, but I will change the note if you agree. Otherwise, I will change the amount if you disagree.
Yeah, I'd like to see it broken out in the comments.
That's fine.
That's all.
Like I said, I will do that. But the question is, do you agree with that annual commitment?
I think we should keep that there because they do a good service for us, and that problem is not going away anytime soon.
So one of the other things I'm going to do on this one, I received the contract rate after. I just got it. So I'm going to verify that the 225 number is accurate.
So So that shows you how much we're still subsidizing, general fund
Correct.
subsidizing the police services.
General fund is paying more than the millage at this point.
Well, general fund used to pay it all.
Yes, the
Yeah.
millage
We
is
are fortunate that we have some,
a supplement.
yeah.
Yep. If the general went back to paying it all, we would have to tighten the belts another notch or two on everything across the board. And the things that staff are complaining about now is going to be minuscule compared to what that impact would be.
So how long is that millage for?
It was 6 years, I think.
How many? I thought we were tied in with that.
Yeah, you guys
I'm
are too.
curious.
It's the same with you. I'd have to look.
We need to be aware of
One
that.
more year?
I think it's one more year.
Oh,
I can go
yeah.
look if you want.
Yeah, I think it's up in 26 because we wanted to, I think we wanted to stay on the election year, or maybe 24. Maybe it's 24.
I'm thinking,
Well, if it is, we need to put that in our
I think, I know we
remember to
discussed
do
before.
list.
Yeah, well, if it is, then we're going to have to
Add it.
look at renewing it next year, if that's the
Oh.
case.
Well, if you can you remember at all what the percentage was of the voters that voted for
Oh,
it?
it passed both passed very, yeah, it was like the library, it passed pretty well.
What I'm thinking is maybe we should double that for our next election.
For what?
Or
Double
you could
whose?
increase it enough so that the general fund is only paying half of the total bill.
Or something, so that there's not as much of a burden.
So, if my memory serves me correctly,
Let me go get my I'll be back.
the
I got
sheriff's
that.
contract was
Yeah, I was
originally
looking it up, Randy.
intended to be 40 hours a week, and then it was doubled to 80 hours a week. Does everyone else remember that being the case?
Yes, that's it.
So the millage was covering the first 40, and the general fund is covering the second 40. We just need to make sure that if the millage is renewed, it still covers that original 40 hours a week. That's my recommendation.
Rather than go for double. I mean,
How much
say-
do you want to hit the taxpayers for?
Well, if it was that overwhelming,
I get it.
you know,
It
I'm
potentially
just trying to
could
protect
defeat
the
it.
general fund a little bit more.
Yeah. But if you doubled it, I think Linda's right.
It
It,
could
it might
potentially
not have,
defeat it.
Well, it could, yeah.
Yeah,
and then you have nothing.
yeah. And,
You could go up a little bit in that. You don't have to go double.
yeah, people
What was
watch
it?
them.
1 mil? I'll just say 1 mil if we went up, you know.
1.5, 1.2.
Well, even renewing at the original millage rate to eliminate the Headley rollback might be enough.
Yeah. And explaining that the extra 40 is funded by the taxpayer through a millage.
Extra 40 hours, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so approximately half of it is covered by the millage, the other half is covered by the general fund. So
So-
property taxes primarily.
So I'm just real curious to know when it expires. I don't want to get stuck not
This is
having that
23.
when it's supposed to.
This is the 4029, it says 2023.
Oh my God.
It's due next year is what, 24 sticks in my head.
Well, let's just make sure when it
Is that
comes
through
back.
23?
Yeah,
So it would have to be on the ballot in 2024.
Yes, under that
Yeah.
discussion, yes.
Something like that, yeah, it was in.
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
so we've got one more year of
I don't have it
revenue.
in front of me.
This
Yeah.
year's worth of revenue has not been
Yeah,
collected yet.
I didn't know I wasn't here
And that
then.
comes in
Behind.
December.
Yeah, we don't collect our tax revenue until the end of the year.
So we're in the
So
year.
2023 comes in December. That's what we operate on in 24. So 24, we have to renew it.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
because the road's 2029.
My,
Yeah, because recreation came out in 22.
well,
For this year,
whatever
we
it
didn't
was,
do it.
4 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, before me. So I'll be the
Good thing
one.
we had the question.
Yeah, I'll be the one that still doesn't think we should give upset $10,000.
I
I just
agree.
want that to be on record.
I agree. It's-
I think
if
5,000
we-
is plenty. You like to give them 10. I don't.
Oh, you don't want to give them 10?
No, I think we're overpaying compared to everyone else in our communities. So I just said it. I mean, I would lose on a vote, but that's okay. Yeah.
Well, can we afford it? That's,
Well, can you afford it are there other things that you should be affording more so than
It should be
that?
23, Randy.
Yeah, so
But I don't care. I still don't think so.
So it
Well,
was-
10,000 is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money and it's more than our neighboring townships give.
So the township voted
people
in
know that.
2018 supplemental law enforcement for .4 mils from 2018 to 2023, so.
6 years.
So 6 years,
So that's what it is.
that was .4 for law, and .6 for the fire, and that expires also next year, so.
And that's a time when we may want to add an EMS or whatever we're calling those people, ambulance service, a millage for that,
Yeah.
because that is costing.
So the question I would have is, do you want to put it on November, do you want to put it on August? Because November could be pretty busy
Next year, yes.
next year.
August is good.
August would probably be a better
And Dan will
election.
know if he's gonna survive or not.
Well, Dan, you were talking about pulling your EMS department out. Are you still thinking about that?
You mean separating that? Oh, and we're sort of in that works now, we sort of have been for months. But it's just gonna be a slow process. But yeah,
I was
it's
just
in the
thinking the
works.
funding side.
Oh, and the funding's separate,
So,
and that's
yeah,
something that we
it's
need to
cost
get
center
together
for
on. Because we discuss a lot of those things, who should we, you know, there's a few of those items.
So,
Yeah, that was something that Kim and I would have to get on and.
so early next year, the board will have to decide about supplemental law enforcement and the fire truck apparatus millage.
Right.
And EMS, if that's where the
Well, if
direction
you
we
want to
wanna
add
go.
one, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's why I was asking, if you are going that way, then you probably need separate funding.
But they'll need another ambulance before 6 years is up. And if you don't put money into a fund to fund that, then you're gonna end up
That's
back here.
capital too, so we either need to fund the department or split it.
And Dan can
Yeah.
probably address the whole thing with staffing, you know, it's hard to get EMS people
Well, you
to
gotta
show
pay
up.
it.
And you know, if you don't pay them what the local communities are paying them, even our firemen, they're not gonna stay, because if your son can work somewhere else and live in Marquette and make more money, it's a no-brainer. It's where we're all going, right?
Where do we sit with that second ambulance? Are we still, wasn't there something that we could have got a grant or? There was,
We didn't
there was
qualify.
something.
The one is purchased, well, not paid for, but ordered,
And that's the ARPA money, right? Yeah.
correct,
Yeah.
with ARPA money. So I'm hoping within 12 months we receive that.
But we won't have ARPA money next time, and
agree.
we need
I'm
to,
with you.
you know, just like our fire trucks, we need to put
Well,
some money away for those things.
Well, that's
or
what the
figure it out.
apparatus was for.
Right.
Yeah, which
Or-
helped buy the new truck that we
Correct.
got,
Well,
yeah.
and I don't know that that has to be separated, you know, I'm just saying about separating the department. But I think if we have one apparatus millage,
Can we
that's
use it for
easier for
both?
people to figure out too.
Yeah, but
Just
is
has
it
to be-
enough?
It just have to be worded, you have to word it
Yeah, but
correctly,
I-
that's all.
I mean, not another EMS.
You need
millage.
you need EMS money to fund your staff.
They're two
Oh, we-
different things, I'm talking about capital,
Right, I know what you're saying, but what I'm saying is there's probably not enough money.
which is what I said, why I asked him, because he might need a separate millage for that. If he's gonna divide
Right.
them out, then we need to look at separate
Well, they, yep, and I've talked about that for the last year.
And we're gonna
That we need
have to
look at
know
that.
by probably April of next year
Anyways.
what direction we're going.
And this is something that, and we're probably gonna argue and disagree, I mean, because and it's gonna be, it's a process to separate because of the way we've always done it.
Right, it'll be a
I'm
dust.
not saying it's right, what we've always done, and I understand what you want, and I would like a little better definition too. But, because we both sort of, we think we know,
Yeah.
and we both agree, but we don't know for sure.
And it's
So-
not gonna get better
Oh, I agree.
because
I
as
agree.
people age out of the
Yeah.
workforce, the younger people moving into our workforce, they're not here, guys.
No, we know. And the people you talked, earlier about the raise, the 2.5%. Well, we used to, and it's been brought up in our meetings. I know we're not talking fire right now, but we used to, the previous couple of chiefs ago used to wait to give us $1 raise.
Yeah.
Every 4 years we got $1 raise.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't get a raise for the fire department for 5 years. That chief asked for the dollar, and it was declined because nobody else got it. So that's when we started that 2.5%. So we're way behind the 8 ball. And it brings up, when I first started here, McDonald's was making $5 an hour, and I was making 10 to show up to call. Now McDonald's is making 16, and I'm making 18.
Right.
I mean, it's not, is it worth it for me to come here? You know, and it's getting to that point where that volunteerism is going away a little bit.
It's gone, Dan. It is gone for everything. We all know
The word
that.
volunteer has been replaced with paid on call.
Right.
Pardon?
The word volunteer has been replaced with paid on call.
I think you're missing my point.
No, I'm not.
No, we got it.
I understand
Paid
your
on
point.
call. It is paid on. It's always been paid on call.
He's saying volunteering.
Okay, general fund. General fund. I get it.
Agreed.
I get it.
Yeah,
I didn't want to. It got brought up. And I had to,
yeah. It's a lot less stressful to work at McDonald's than to go on a run, and we all know that. Yeah.
So
Now, we're also playing for training, which you've never done in the past either, which made a big difference too.
Yeah, and we should have probably been doing that.
So law enforcement, yes, we need to, it was approved at 0.4 last time. If you would go up to 0.6, it probably would generate more dollars, and that might cover half of that cost.
Well, that's something we gotta figure out, is what is half of that cost? And, yeah, if 0.6,
Yeah, because we did a 0.4, and it's helping.
But I
And then
kinda
we buy a
think-
car on top of that.
Yeah, I kind of think we need to pay attention to our fire department for a while, because we know we have sheriff's services. What we're doing is extra. All we have is the fire department. There's no extra. So if we're gonna do any increases or anything, my opinion, we need to do it for the fire
Well,
department.
I'm just talking.
That's all we've got.
Yeah, I'm
It
just
is,
talking
you're
about
right.
for law services right now, we're gonna have to, so it doesn't, so the general fund doesn't get taxed as much, we can, because right now, if we didn't have that millage, the general fund would eat it all, so.
but if 0.6 covers it, then.
Well,
that's
it
simple.
might, we'd have to see
Yeah.
what it
Just
would-
run the numbers.
Yeah,
Police is being collected at 0.392. We need to renew it at 0.4.
at least,
That's gonna get us closer to the half.
at least.
Yeah, and if it goes to 0.5, great, but how much can you increase that while taking care of them simultaneously?
Correct, yeah, correct, so,
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. We know we've got police coverage, and we pay extra besides.
yes.
We just have them. If we're gonna do any increases, I think it needs to go to them.
So would you have an easier time getting people to join if the wages were?
I don't know if, I'm not saying that it's all wages either, so please don't take me, get me the wrong way. And then we're not on
It's
fire
not.
right now, so I
Right.
don't want to be.
It's not, but part of it is.
It is. Oh, and it's brought to my attention. We do discuss it as a group. We have an officers meeting once a month, and, things are discussed. And they just try to bring to my attention, those types of things. Before, it used to be worth it for me to come up here, but now, when I get up in the middle of the night to start my car at $5, $4, whatever it is, a gallon, and come up here, well, it'd have to be sharp, not just go work, and I'm not putting down anybody who works
Yeah.
anywhere,
No, it's-
but not have to be able to
intense.
be on your toes, and be sharp.
And some of
And
the
times
calls-
have changed.
Some of the calls you get at 3 o'clock in the morning
Oh, yeah,
are,
yeah.
can't breathe.
Oh, my God, yeah,
Or-
it fell down.
Yeah, it's
We
a
get-
lift
yeah.
assist.
We
So
get-
I'm
we
not
get-
minimizing
those have
that.
come way back.
But you've got to get somebody out of bed
Yep.
for
Oh,
that
yeah.
at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it has to be worth their while.
So it's not just the people joining, it is the people who are there that have to get out of bed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It has
And they have to
worth-
be to work at 7 in the morning or 6 or wherever they work. And their employer, John's not gonna say, oh, don't show up today
Don't worry
because you
about
had a
it.
fire call, don't
You've got to
worry.
sleep.
They're gonna say, you wanna get fired?
You have to make it worth their
Exactly.
Right.
effort to come out, yeah.
And I think the taxpayers need to know that the service is here for them.
Right.
And I can assure you, probably everyone in this room is gonna say, I want the EMS. I want them to save my loved one or my wife or pick me up off the floor or whatever. I don't think that's a hard sell. I don't think it's a hard sell.
Yeah, you
It's
can
always,
call.
it's always been, we've always had tremendous
Support.
support
Yeah.
from
Right.
the voters for police and fire.
And
I mean,
actually,
Fire was long before police, but it's always been supported by the voters.
And if you don't ask,
You're right.
as my friend Tom Baldini
You're right.
said, if you don't ask, you get nothing.
You are very, very, very.
So you have to ask. That's the government.
Well-
Anyways, I'm done.
And I will say, your fire department is a lot cheaper to fund right now than the city. So, let's do a little comparison.
a little bit.
We're doing great.
That's because of the big retirements.
That's part of it. Absolutely.
Must be you.
I know exactly who he was looking at, but yes.
well, that one gal that was here a couple meetings ago talked about the demographics of Marquette Township, and
The senior center person.
it's going up. And so I don't think we'll have a problem with
No.
law enforcement or
No.
EMS or fire
No.
to probably get it approved.
It's how we present it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing in that too.
And we just tell them, hey, if you want the service, you have to pay for it. It's beyond our tax dollars funding it. We have to go out for more.
So, in the big scheme of things, the ratio of fire calls to EMS calls is moving significantly from fire to EMS,
Yeah.
Yes.
correct?
But you need those firemen to be there to help those
I'm
EMS.
I'm not discounting that. My
Right.
point is the demand that they have, their job descriptions are written for firefighters.
No, it's not, but that's,
Well, the compensation is from when it was just firefighters.
Oh, when you did the review.
I'm
right
talking
down.
for the 3 full-time employees.
Oh,
When EMS
job
was,
description does say firefighter EMT
Yeah.
for the full-time.
the compensation though, did it change when EMS was added?
Not specifically.
I can't remember the very first, because I know who it was and everything, but I think it always said I think, and this was 20 years ago, so I'm not 100%
Oh,
sure.
when they wrote those job descriptions to hire people full-time, I think it said both.
I
It's
think
your
so, too.
firemen.
Well, we
whose
can save
isn't
that
changed.
conversation for another
Yeah.
day. I think, but-
I
I
can't
think
say
you're
100%,
right.
but I think you're right.
Yeah.
We aren't even into the fire
I
department.
know, I'm trying to say, I'm not,
Oh,
Well, it's the
sorry, I
public
probably
service part,
ran it.
Because the millage is only, we only have so much millage, so this does come into play when you're
Right.
talking police.
Yeah.
I'm
Anyways.
not recommending a renewal of the recreation millage anytime soon. I think the most significant improvement we're getting out of the last one is happening starting next week over at Lions Field. And part of that is also being covered by our agreement with the high school. So I don't think we need to renew the recreation millage. If taking a chunk of what had been recreation millage and applying it to EMS makes the most sense, then we need to present that argument to the voters.
So
Okay.
I'll be on the whole other side here. I think once you have something, you should continue it. Once you stop it, people won't let you restart it.
So
as
here's the
easily.
problem. I don't think we ever needed it in the first place.
Oh, and I would love to see more, okay, I'll be Jason now. I would love to see more recreation opportunities, and if that means having a millage to do that, I would be a big supporter of that.
Okay, but the way the millage was argued was to return staffing to normal.
Oh, well, I don't know that part, John. So I like putting
Yes.
It was a
point,
numbers
whatever.
game.
Yeah, I like putting money into a millage for recreation. People, community people, they can see and feel that. And they use it, and they think the recreation millage is funding our recreation trails and parks and blah, blah, blah.
We're not paying a dime on trails though.
Well, maybe that we will in the future.
What
I
about
think
our,
NTN would love to hear that. The Heritage Authority would love
what
to hear
about
that.
our pickleball court resurfacing?
It's in the CIP. It's
Yeah,
in the
I
budget. We'll
see.
get there.
Yeah.
If we,
So I think
understand
that should
but
come out of
Is
recreation.
that coming out of recreation at all? Or is that coming out of parks and recreation?
It's being paid for out of the general fund, and the recreation millage went into the general fund. We never spent it all. We're getting close.
I love recreation.
I have to give you a breakdown, but I don't have it.
We're not gonna make 3 o'clock for you.
All right.
Okay.
Keep moving then.
It's still good stuff. We don't talk about it today, we'll talk about it the next meeting. So, what's different?
Doesn't matter, right, Lynn?
Right, we gotta go through it.
Yeah.
I don't wanna, Carl is just sitting there looking at us, wondering what's going
He's
on.
probably thinking we're all crazy.
I don't think we should go too long without talking about fire department increases.
Well,
A millage, if that's needed, or a millage for the, whatever is needed there. We need to start thinking about it and talking about it and get it ready for the next election.
when we get into the fire department, that's when we'll
Yeah.
budget, that's when we'll
Well, but I think the board needs to get
Ready?
behind it.
Well, and that's where your staff needs to be crunching the numbers and making a recommendation for you to consider. Yep.
We can't
I think
let too
between-
much time go by.
Yeah. I know Dan's already working on it with a little bit of insight from Kim, and I need to get involved in the conversation.
So law enforcement's okay?
Yeah.
We're gonna keep that?
Unless I crunch the number with the new contract rate, which increases every year because it's based on the cost for them to hire that deputy. And that's a union contract.
You're not sure about the 225 is what you said?
I will verify what, if it actually comes out to 225 more or less.
Okay. Okay, street lighting.
I put another inflationary adjustment in there for the power bill.
Okay.
Whether or not we hit that, I would say by the time we get it adjusted, we will be hitting it, so.
Okay.
And nobody's doing anything with the lights, right? I had pulled 2,500 out a few years ago, put it in Pete's budget, what we did. So they had $5,000 to spend on lighting, and they didn't do anything with it. So
That's
it
what
just goes
that
back in the
2,500
general
is
fund.
every year in
Right.
there. Yep.
They didn't spend it 1 year. Pete was complaining about not doing anything, and I said, all right. Somebody made a motion, and we pulled it out. Gave them 5,000 for that year, and they still didn't spend it.
So who are they and how do we get it spent?
Road
The
committee.
road committee.
Okay. We're not getting out of here at 3.
That's
Well, I'll bring it
okay.
up. It's in my notes. I'll bring it up to Pete.
Here's the thing,
Sorry,
though.
I didn't mean to-
Pete wants to just follow what's already
There's
written
issues.
Yeah.
and just go and put up lights.
I know there's issues.
The last time it happened, as soon as the light went up, the
I know.
neighbors complained and it came right back down.
Yeah,
There's
so
a few that.
Maybe we should ask the neighbors first.
I don't disagree, but it takes staff to do it.
zoning
or somebody
issues
to do it.
too.
Maybe Pete can do that.
Well, they were complaining because they couldn't see the stars.
The lights can go out at a certain
Yeah,
time.
I mean, that's,
I've seen stars.
some people like dark skies, unfortunately.
I like street lighting personally.
Well, let's go on to street signs.
Okay. That's fine.
So we're gonna refer that to the road committee and,
It's always been the road committee's
so
responsibility.
how do we get the road committee to move then?
They've been trying to move. The problem is they want to do something
Right. I know.
they want to just do it without caring about the consequences.
Oh, well, they have to have parameters.
They do. They want to follow the pre-established parameters, which the people that are impacted object to, because it would be a new light in front of their home where they don't want it because it's shining in their bedroom windows.
But you can't just, because one person didn't want it, think that everybody.
They have this argument every time they meet.
Don't think that everybody
Discussed.
does not want it. If they're in a dark area, you know,
Okay, so
even if you did a phone poll,
here's the point. If the board wants to make that policy decision and do it, be prepared for the consequences.
Okay.
That's what you have to be aware of.
So I have a
'Cause-
light in front of my bedroom window. Can you take it down now? Because I don't like it anymore. You know, I mean, that's what
Right.
we're really saying. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
That's what shades
It's dark in the
for.
morning for our young people to be walking on the roads to the bus stops. That's what I'll tell you.
that's what they make
It's dark.
blackout blinds for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, pull your
And
blind
so
down
are
if
we
it's too
willing to
bright.
take the heat is the question.
Correct.
So you could send them right to us and say, it was a board decision, call Lynn. I mean, you know, really,
Yeah, no.
sometimes you have to stay in your quote lane, as
Yeah.
my friend said to me yesterday. You know, the board decision is this. Come to a meeting and tell us you don't like it, or we can,
I
don't
think
know.
that's the struggle that the road committee have, because while they want to continue doing it, they understand the ramifications or consequences.
But
So
they
they're-
haven't even made a proposal.
Right.
We haven't heard from them at all.
So they need to bring that to the board and then we.
I
can
don't think
discuss
it's
it.
because they haven't been talking about it. It's because they don't have a good answer.
Okay.
That's my opinion. And keep in mind, I haven't gone for a few months because every time I go, I feel like it's
The same.
it.
So Carl,
That's good.
Carl, what are you feeling?
Well, that's part of the issue. I mean, even on our board, it's split.
Oh,
Because we have people that would like to get rid of streetlights in front of their homes, so there's the
but
issue.
the
What
board,
is the, I mean,
we have a
if you got a
policy.
4-member board or a 5-member board, is it 2 to 2 or is it, you know?
Just depends if they have one outside their home or not.
Exactly right.
You know, it's their sad reality. If they don't care. If they do, they'd like to get rid of it.
Oh,
So you think there's more people that like to get rid of it than are in favor of them?
Right.
Well, then you vote and you make a recommendation.
You know, unless
If
we,
it's 3 to 2,
you know, unless there was a way to have a list of the proposed lights and canvass the area, you know, and say, do you want your light here or do you not?
Yeah. Most communities have zones for, if you want lighting, you pay for it in your area. That's the
So
way
that's how they
operate.
do it in the metro areas.
Yeah. Because, and when you think about it, think about all the people in the outlining area around Marquette Township that are all paying for lighting that they don't have. And that's wrong.
it's like being taxed for stuff you don't use.
Okay, moving on.
Well, they need to bring a proposal to the board and then we'll discuss it. Is that what you just said?
that's what I'm suggesting. I mean,
Yeah.
2 years ago, I suggested we abandon the committee because they weren't doing anything. And where are we? He had
Frustrated,
a-
with John being frustrated, that's
Had a heart
right.
attack. Said,
I-
Why are
I-
you against me?
I try not to go there to exert my influence. I let the committee do its thing.
But it's still up to us. We have to
Okay.
make a decision.
Right, and then we have to stand by it and take the heat. That's
We
just
have
the way it
ordinances
goes.
in place. If we
I got
want
them
to
all up
change
and down
them,
my
then we
street.
change them.
Beautiful, because I live where I live, you know.
All right.
Thank you, Pete.
Street signs, we're not spending any money on street signs either.
We just had an invoice we paid.
We average street sign purchases about every other year. But we never know when we have to. Normally what happens is you run out of signs for a certain street and then you do your inventory and replenish it all. It could happen early in the year, late in the year, and then if it's close to the beginning or end of the year, you probably just missed a year or are about to skip a year. So I just try to keep that number the same every year, and I am bumping it up a little bit just for inflationary reasons.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Planning.
Planning, I didn't hear anything really back from them either, but generally speaking, when I talked to Jason, he says a status quo budget usually works for him. So you're looking at contract adjustments, 2.5% for the planning commission, impacts of those contract adjustments, and I'm recommending cutting the supply number in half because historically we aren't spending as much as we did going back as far as 2020.
What happened in 2022 that the work comp was so high? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
Had, those would have been auditor adjustments he had me make at the end of the year for the audit. You base, I mean, it's just a guesstimation when you enter in the numbers in.
Yeah.
And then we had some adjustments that we had to make on there. I would have to pull
Do
the
Does that have anything to do with FMLA?
It shouldn't.
No, it's based on your last year's
Mm-hmm.
payroll. But, I mean, going from 1,700 to 7,000?
Is that the one did we, no, we're still with that.
Did all the workers' comp get put in one budget? No.
It's high on all of them, I've got it circled.
So
And
do
then-
we have claims?
Yeah.
If you have claims, it goes up.
He had me enter it a little bit different, I'm thinking, than the way Lois was doing the entering.
But these are supposed to be actuals, aren't they?
From 2022?
22?
Yes, but then, I mean, I'd have, like I said, I have to pull it, I can't just.
So what I'm questioning is we paid $7,000 last year when the previous 2 years were 1,700 for planning.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all high, if you look at all of them.
Okay, but the entire workers' comp cost didn't go up that much.
That's what I'm saying, it's like 5 times just for last year.
Unless something got posted in 22, like, that should have been put for 23. Or
21.
21.
Well, even then, 20 is low. I don't know, I'd appreciate knowing, because it's all of it.
Because, I mean, the workers' comp for the town, for like the board is exactly the same. Around the same for the supervisor.
So we have to go back to the audited numbers. It's already been audited and figure out whether or not what's reflected in this budget is accurate.
Adjustments I get,
Yeah.
journal entries, but if these 3 numbers, these 3 years are actual, the clerk went from $26 to $1,700. I mean, it's a huge
Yeah.
jump. It's in all of them.
Do you just get one bill from workers' comp?
We get a deposit that we have to pay, and then after the actual numbers come in after the audit of the workers' comp, then we have.
And then you just split
Then
it
you get
between
your-
all the cost centers?
I was just kind of going, yeah.
You were doing what they told you.
Yes, and I was doing
That's high unless you
the
had,
way, trying to follow the way that Lois was doing it. There was really no set formula, let's just say it.
she did a percentage to each cost
Yes,
center.
and depending on when I entered my numbers into that GL account versus when she entered them.
Yeah. You wouldn't,
Kinda.
yeah, you wouldn't,
So
John
maybe it's
wasn't
not
here then.
Yeah.
Huh. It does go up based on claims. Goes way up.
But I don't think we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
Anything.
claims would have been in 2020 or
Oh,
2021,
then I wouldn't have.
and you wouldn't know either.
Hmm?
They would have been before you came.
No, I've been here since,
2020?
I think so.
Oh, yeah, you
Because I
can
was
look
here
back.
for, what, 8 months before I,
Yeah,
ended
because
up
that's
in
what,
this role.
that's how they increased that. And they-
Randy's
Yes,
shoulder
the prior-
was a work comp claim,
Who, someone was?
Gerard,
that was a big one.
but I don't remember
He
when
fe-
that was.
He
That was
fell
in-
at
Oh,
work?
that's right, we fell on
2018
the
or
ice.
19.
In the parking
Yeah,
lot.
he fell out on the ice.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that could be it.
Yeah.
So I
But
was
then,
thinking
then
it
they,
was longer
it probably
ago.
shouldn't, yeah, however they did that, dividing them amongst, well, whatever, do
So it
I?
might be actual, I guess, if you can look.
Yeah,
See what it
yeah,
is.
wow. It should go down this year if there's been no claims though.
Yeah.
That's how they play that game.
Well, and that's why I was wondering, because if we've only had 863 so far, I was wondering if 2,100 was enough.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what was coming the rest of the year.
They should only bill you twice, you said.
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
And then after they do the audit, if there's an adjustment, then they
yeah,
will.
yeah. I worked with them before.
So you don't have anything
It was
miscellaneous then, John, for planning, right? So we don't have to worry about it because you would have already assumed it might go into supplies?
Correct.
Okay.
I gotta call I have a dentist. Sorry.
No change.
Oh, I am.
I'd say lots of no changes.
Yeah, ZBA, the only change is the 2.5%. Are you ready to move on from planning, or is there still something else?
How about ZBA?
Pretty static.
Let's let's talk about that for a minute. There has been no challenge to a ZBA decision in the last 7 years. That's not the normal in most communities. I just want you to know that I think the ZBA is operating well. That's it.
Okay.
No change.
So recreation, on to recreation, John.
Yep. So this is where you can see the impacts of the staffing going back to 20 and 21. Somewhere in there we had one of our building and grounds employees go over to Public Works, and he was not replaced until the recreation millage passed. And now you can see we're spending almost double on wages as we did in 21. And that was over double what we paid in 2020.
So is that where the recreation millage went, to staffing?
Majority of it. But we also bought 2 lawnmowers.
So we would want to keep the recreation millage. Just
This
saying.
budget does not include a recreation millage, and it's balanced
Well, that's
comfortably
saying.
as presented. If you want to ask the voters for another rec millage, I'm not going to oppose it. I just don't. I don't feel like it's necessary at this time.
So we actually have nothing to lose. They would either say yes or no.
So the general fund couldn't use the money?
Be careful what
saying
you
that
wish
either.
for, though, because if you ask too much,
Do you want a
We're not asking
recreation
for more.
millage when you need an EMS millage?
yes.
I want them both.
And you'll pay for them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm paying for it now, so, I mean,
Anyways, that's lots to think about.
That's something
In
we
the
have to
future.
discuss further on down the line.
Yeah.
you know,
So if you looked at the history of wages in building and grounds and recreation, it went way down for a period of time until recreation millage was approved. It went back to where it was before that. The millage expired and it stayed there, and we're still recommending budgets that will work without the recreation millage. That's what you need to know.
Okay.
No change?
Not really.
Not today.
Minor inflationary adjustments is about it.
Okay.
Okay, move on here.
Insurance and bonds, that's pretty much, you pay what you pay.
Yeah.
Capital.
Capital.
Yep, so that's where I'm proposing that 10,000, and I'm saying, it says computer equipment, but it's more than computer equipment, it's computer and technology equipment. And we may not necessarily spend 10,000 every year, but we need to be putting 10,000 into that pot every year so that when we have a big one, whether it's replacing all the computers at one time or a big technology investment that we don't currently have, whether it's putting a camera up for every angle of the entire property out here, whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
Or replacing these computers that are
In
how
fact,
old?
that might be a good one to spend next year's 10,000 on.
Yeah, these must be,
Well,
How old,
originally,
Lynn?
like I said, the charter money was supposed to pay for these.
and that's
Or whatever.
that's $60,000 a year. So that would well pay for computers.
Boy, what kind of computers do you want every
But
year?
it's in
No,
the
but that's what
general
it is
fund.
though,
Yeah.
right?
It's helping
60,000?
fund the general fund, though.
Right. So yeah, even though we say,
Yeah.
mhm.
So
But-
maybe we take 10 or 15 out of there. And then
Well,
we-
that's where you're putting
basically
it.
what
That's
you're
how you have to
doing
do
if
it.
you fund that part of the
Right.
CIP.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I think 10,000 a year is good for equipment.
It's something that we had not been doing, but we need to start doing.
Yeah, because these things don't last very long.
No, but they're getting more affordable too, so.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead then.
Okay, building and grounds, additional funding for windows on top of the 50,000 that we didn't spend this year.
Where you at?
He's-
Capital.
Oh, okay, building, okay.
So then we would have 75,000 for windows?
Correct.
And some of that 50,000 has already been earmarked for windows?
It's in the current budget, but
That's the part I don't understand, where it is and how it's supposed to be there.
it's in this year's budget, but
Okay.
we're not spending it this year.
So we'll move it over.
Let's go back a meeting or two. We agreed to spend that 50 on something else that's eluding me at the moment. I think you should,
That renovation.
Yeah, room.
The room.
Yeah,
the boardroom days.
yeah,
Right.
uh-huh. So then
And
we spent it
overages on the,
24 or 25, and then the extra 20-something in the
in the office.
fishbowl.
yeah, what you might want to do is, I think it's gonna be $75,000 worth of windows that you're gonna need to spend just on that end to get
So it would
energy efficient windows.
be a $50,000 allotment for, it would be $75,000 allotment for this year for windows?
For next year.
Right, next year, I mean. We would approve
Yeah.
it this year
So-
for next year.
Here's what you need to understand. If you change that 25 to 75, we don't have a balanced budget anymore.
Correct.
But you could take 50,000 next year out of the fund balance to cover it.
For a budget amendment, yeah.
Correct.
Okay, all right, so it's really moving rocks around.
It's playing money games for sure. But if we all understand that's what the plan is, then it's still being transparent.
Well, it's not a game, because we're just putting it into a savings account, the general fund is a savings account. And we're putting it in there. If we don't use it this year, same thing with the lighting I just said. We put it in there, and like you said, take it out.
If you go to the CIP, you will see I have a current balance of 50. The actual budget, because we've been spending the money on other projects that we were able to get done sooner, the money is not technically there, but there is enough money in the fund balance to say it could be there.
So we didn't make capital improvement projects, that boardroom and the fishbowl.
We did do those.
Okay. All right, yeah.
And we are doing a solar project
Correct.
with
So,
marijuana money that was never in the budget.
yeah, we're very fortunate as a township to have
I
this
can tell you
money to play
sometimes
with.
I go to bed at night thinking, how did we agree to pay for that?
You just forgot.
Well,
It's a lot swimming.
we do a lot every year that was never really planned, but ultimately should be done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in my mind, yeah, we just didn't think about it, but it'd be great to think about it before. Yeah.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
we had that magic crystal ball every
Yeah.
year, I don't know that I'd have to work
We'd
here
all
anymore.
be in Europe, right?
I don't know if I'd want to be in Europe. Sure.
No.
Keep moving here.
Yeah, keep moving.
Okay. Police vehicle, 15,000 every year, of which we currently have 20,000 set aside after the SUV we just purchased. So in 3 years from now, we'll have another 45 to add to that 20. We should be okay.
So do we sell the extra police?
Not yet.
So we have a vehicle that we just bought for them. We have a vehicle that now is going to be the township,
It's right there.
and then we have one to sell.
That's going to the fire department to use
Instead of selling it?
Yes.
so they can do their inspections in a vehicle like that instead of a big old pickup truck.
Oh, okay.
It's already
So we
bought
have
and
none
paid
to,
for.
so we have none to sell, that's what I'm asking.
Right.
None to
For
sell.
3 years.
For 3 years, and then we'll start selling, that one will be trashed by then.
So,
And then you can move this one to your inspection vehicle.
yeah,
Oh,
they're
so
just
it's
going to
for
have one more step in the
inspection.
rotation before we get rid
You
of
gotta
it.
pay for the insurance now.
What about,
The insurance doesn't
I'm
change that much.
what about you're gonna do some, I would assume
Yes.
lettering, and that's in your budget then? Okay.
Okay, all right, keep going, yeah.
Just keep in mind, when it's sold, the revenue goes back to the general fund,
Yeah.
not to the fire fund.
So it's, yeah, okay. So you put,
But we're letting them use it for
Remember
3
that.
years.
so 25,000 to resurface the tennis courts?
Yep.
And that's coming from general fund money, not recreation money.
recreation money.
You're
is in
asking
the
for an
general fund.
accounting that I don't have for you at the moment.
Okay, because Dan and I probably were the ones thinking that's coming from recreation money.
Well, it should be.
It should be, and that's easy to sell to the community then. Your recreation millage is paying for not just a baseball field that they never play on, but pickleball courts, a playground.
2 lawnmowers, riding lawnmowers, not expensive or not cheap lawnmowers.
Yeah, and they'll get that because there's grass to cut.
Much needed lawnmowers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and whatever else we need. A roof over the ice arena. Okay, we'll keep going.
Someday.
Okay, we
Get
did
out
need
there.
that millage after all.
We do need that millage.
All right.
Lot of areas that
People
can-
will vote for that. I
They will.
know they will.
Okay, so
Debt
on
service.
And
debt
EMS.
service,
Yeah.
we are talking about an added $50,000 principal payment. And if we sell the 5 acres over there, we would add another $500,000 to that.
So how much do we owe on those? That's somewhere in here, right?
It's not in the budget, it's in the,
Okay. So we owe more than 260,000.
absolutely we do. It's
We
probably,
used to get a printout at each one of them
Yeah,
as to that.
yeah, once
We should
upon
be
a
getting
time.
that back again, man.
Yeah, so we can see what we owe.
Would you put that on Kim's list?
yeah.
Oh, perfect.
We need the, what are amortization schedules?
Yeah.
Actually, it's in the budget book. It's like the second or third page. If that's what the one you're talking about that says,
How much we still owe.
yeah. the
Yeah,
5 or
that's what
6
I'm talking about,
columns,
yeah.
and we looked at that to decide which ones to pay. Yeah, that should be the second or third page, right there.
It's the very first
Is that it?
page.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
That'll be part of
How
the
much do we still
book.
owe? Let's get rid of some more.
1.9 million.
What else do we still
And that's
owe?
on
What
everything?
else do we still owe?
But that's between fire and this building.
Correct, between the two.
So it's just the building that we owe on, we've paid everything else off?
We paid off the Grove Street land.
Yeah.
We paid off a loan between water and wastewater.
Uh-huh.
We paid off
That
the
land.
extra property up there. So we have road millages and a public works loan
Yeah.
for their building and this building. That's
So
pretty
we're-
much
we're-
it.
So
We have 3 left then.
that's what he, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's
if we
2
can,
sets of road bonds, but
yeah, but if we can work at paying those off, good for us.
that's what the plan is.
So you're
Continue
saying-
that debt snowball.
So you're saying to pay 60,000, 50,000 on who? The
On this-
fire hall?
On this building.
It's on Township Hall. And keep in mind, the fire department has been spending all of their Act 33 money every year. So if they didn't spend it on operations, whatever's left goes towards their principal.
The building.
Okay.
So their building's getting paid down sooner too.
Good, all right, that's always good to share with the residents. People like
Public
to know
Works,
that.
on the other hand, is not there. But they also need money to do some expensive controls upgrades that you can't get low-interest loans
Oh,
for because
it's not.
everyone else is in worse shape than we are.
Okay,
Transfer out to township improvements, that's a little bit higher. And part of the reason for that is we didn't do any chip sealing this year. So we got to do it next year in addition to next year's work. That's the biggest difference. But also part of that 616, if you go back to the first page, there's 433,000 from the road millage that goes into improvements to pay a portion of that debt.
And
And
the
if
road
you-
commission is saying that this part of commerce is on their list next year.
that's
Oh,
good,
good.
and they're on our list,
They did.
Really?
right?
I
Yeah.
asked Pete,
Did you ask them for the project limits?
no. I just told
I'd be
him about the
careful. I'd be
conversation.
careful what you say
To all
without
of
knowing
us.
the project limits. That's my only advice.
I asked him about the spot in front of the fire hall, and I told him that we had problems with people who want to come in, developers, and move in here, and they're questioning the condition of the road. And I said, is there any chance it's going to be done this year? This was one of the public relations meetings, not this last one, the one before. And he said, it's on our list for next year.
And do you
Okay.
know
That's the way he
that
answered it.
if you have a problem because you hit a pothole with your car, that the county has to pay you for repairing that problem?
No, they don't.
I'll send you the email that just came.
Okay, so
to
the
me.
law says if somebody reports a pothole, they have 72 hours to fill it. If somebody else hits it in that 72-hour window, you haven't had your full opportunity to repair it.
Well, the state is changing it. I'll send it to all of you. You
Okay,
can
when it
read
becomes law, then I'll believe it.
Yeah.
Well, it might be. But-
Okay.
Let's keep
but-
moving. I don't
yeah.
want to talk about potholes.
You don't want to talk about them.
Keep
Okay.
moving.
That's one reason why not owning the roads does make sense, because we
Right,
don't have
we
the
don't want to be
liability
sued.
for the
Right.
maintenance.
Yeah, I'll send it out.
Appropriations.
Oh, is this the part everyone's been waiting for?
This is the part I'm going to talk about.
That's what I'm
more.
waiting for too.
Okay, so you can see we went from 23.5 to 7
Right.
in my recommendation.
Right.
Why? Because I'm thinking Linda and her crew with Dan can do Community Day for $2,000.
Nope.
No.
No?
It cost us $3,000,
Okay.
$3,200, and we'd like to keep it at 5 for safety, so we can have another band.
Okay, so beautification 2,000, events 5,000, and it's only for one event.
5,000, right? And that's what we had, and that's what they had in the past. 5, right?
Okay, so beautification, how much?
Beautification doesn't need more than 1,000. What?
So
It's flowers.
Okay,
It's not the roundabouts, right?
no.
Oh my gosh! I only
It's just the-
submit a bill for less than 100, and I'm going to meet with that person on Friday,
Christie.
and so I say 1,000.
All right, so then the 7 can be changed to 6.
Yes, I think that's plenty. We're not planting the middle of the highway with that $1,000, are we?
No,
No. So just
although it might not hurt to
the
think about it.
the 2 flower beds, 3 flower beds. I
Okay,
say 1,000. Okay, they can kill me.
6,000
Why don't we
total?
leave it at 7, just
Just
to
in
listen
case.
to people
You want
talk?
to leave it at 2 for
Just to be on the
beautification?
safe side. not
And
too-
5, okay, 2 and 5. So with events, does that mean that, well, where are you going to, sponsorship is then different when we talk about events that don't belong to us.
I am recommending spending our event money on one event.
Okay, I'm good with that, John. I brought out my
So
paperwork.
that means no more funding for the privatized events.
Yes,
You
they
agreed to do it 1 year to help them minimize their risk by taking them over. It sounds like they're doing pretty well.
And they can get their own revenue by selling ads and such.
Well, they're going to all the businesses to get sponsorships.
Yeah, so
They don't need you to pay for
They got
radio
money from
ads.
Goodwill.
yeah, so we're out
They
of it.
did?
So we're out of that now.
They get money from the Business Association in Marquette
Yeah.
Township too, as we should have gotten a
I think we
$500
did.
check.
I think we did.
So that $500,
Is part of the 5,000.
okay, that's
Not
good.
5,000
So then it's
plus
really,
500.
it's 4,500 plus donation. Yes? I mean, I don't care. Just-
Correct. And
my
I'll
committee
tell
is-
you, this is what first started the whole conversation down the spiral for me. Because the first year I was the manager, they spent their whole budget, and then they said, oh, by the way, you got 500 from the business association, so we're sending you a bill for that too.
And then they had the Business Association
That's basically
send
what
it
they
to
did.
them. Yeah, that's what they
And
did.
that extra $500 bill, what did it do? Pay for services that they themselves provided.
So
What type of feedback have you heard about the event that took place in Lions Field?
Initially, it was good feedback, and then nothing, because once the event's a week old, people
Right.
are
They forget about it.
they're chasing other nuts.
So just so you all know, the committee agreed to continue. I know. And,
I?
yes, you did. You just, right.
I got a scoop more.
Yeah, we did have a follow-up meeting, and, that's
But
kind
be
of,
prepared, they're gonna come looking for money. So John's gonna be the.
well, they
lead
can
person.
come to the board with a request, and we can say,
Yeah.
it's not in our budget. I mean, you have to decide that, now
I
they,
just know the people.
if they ask you for
That's what's gonna
a
happen.
sponsorship like the 4th of July does, you can choose to add that to wherever 4th of July is.
Yeah, it's right there.
And maybe it should just say sponsorship, and as a board, you can decide whether or not you want to be a sponsor.
I'm just forewarning you, because I know those people, they're gonna
Do
look
you
for
know
every
those
dollar they
people?
can. Yeah.
If everyone agrees that the 5,000 that we have here for events is for Community Day and not for the other two that we
Yes,
Right,
saw privatized,
right.
yes.
then that's what I will communicate to them.
We may want to put that definition in here, too, so it's.
So
easily
5,000 instead of events, Community Day.
Yeah,
Day.
And we might not get 500 from the business association. So, think about, you really want to put 5,000 and I'm going to spend 5,000. If you don't get 500, so be it.
You're still going to spend 5,000. It's just the general
Correct.
fund's paying for that 5.
Correct. Are you good with that?
I would not plan on the
Not
500.
I.
Plan on the 5,000.
No.
Plan on
Don't plan on
5,000.
anything extra.
Okay, all right.
If he does come in, great, then you have something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
okay, all right.
And we can do it easily.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
can
just
do it
don't
for
play
that.
the game where if that extra money comes in after the fact, that
Nope,
then
I
you
won't.
can go and
Spend more?
We've
spend
already got
another
new
500
ideas
bucks that
for-
you were never planning
We've got
on.
a few new ideas for some changes next year that we think will go over well.
Yep.
So,
If they agree to donate 500 bucks, it's helping not draw down the general fund.
There is a donation to the township. That's what they're
Yeah,
donating.
I remember that
Okay.
coming in this year.
Okay, that's good. Perfect, because someone asked me if we got the check yet. So I will
I'm
tell
pretty
him.
sure we did.
I'll ask Kimmy too, but.
All right, Dan, can you knock this out in a half hour?
I can be as quick as you'd like. Yeah, I can.
Okay, so I do have some red
If I don't
ink on
say
here. We will take a look at some of the questions that probably need some follow-up at the next one, and hopefully have some answers for you there.
Are we getting in the fire?
Yeah, let's go into fire and get as much of that done. I did not put an end date on the posting, so we can stay
Can
here.
everyone stay around for another half hour?
I can.
Yeah, I have a meeting at 7 here.
Oh,
John's here till
time to
4:30.
That's correct.
I have my list all
fact,
mixed up.
I'd rather just get it done and over with,
Yep.
and then,
This is Dan's show. Does everyone mind if I take a quick break? I'll be right back.
Well, everyone could take a bathroom break and
Yeah,
have 10
let's do
minutes.
that.
And then you can
5
drink the
minutes.
water that's not in the fridge.
They're cutting into your time now.
okay, we're back on recording now. So.
Sorry.
Okay, fire budget.
Yep. Lenny was good for that for again this year. You see, I won't read these these couple paragraphs to you, but just to highlight, I am asking for an increase in the on-call pay for salary for EMS. And as we're all, or maybe we're all aware, we did receive, the very last paragraph talks about the Michigan Treasury $10,000 grant for purchase wildland coveralls. We did receive that grant. I don't know if the money is in the account yet, but we did receive that grant.
If it's there, I'm not aware of it.
Yeah,
That-
and I asked him a week or so ago.
It should be coming if we don't have it
Yeah,
yet.
it's coming.
Who hasn't got a fire? I got 3 of them here, extra ones.
Oh, so you had them.
Hold out. I got fire.
If someone
Everyone
just gave
thought
it to me and I
John
just
had
put
them.
them here. Does everyone have the new ones?
We don't know if we have.
Up in the right-hand corner,
So
it says 10,
Ernie,
11.
I sent 4 that way
Yeah.
and 5 that way.
You didn't make them over that way.
I got it.
I got it.
So other than it looks like, Dan, the only changes you have is increasing your on-call pay and your salary for EMTs, basically.
Correct.
You're on revenues?
Yeah, let's.
Oh,
back
right.
up.
So we're on revenues first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Probably a little confused on 626.
charges for services rendered? So that's the money you bring in?
Oh, I know what that is.
It's the EMS, money from
See, and
insurance.
that's where.
I know
go
what
ahead.
it is.
Yep, yeah,
Lost
I'm sure
Creek,
you do,
Lost Creek.
because we had gone over this last year.
Right,
in
because
December.
we found out that no one had collected from Lost Creek for 3 years.
Really?
See, the fire department does inspections in there once a year.
Uh-huh.
They did them, whenever, nothing was ever, no bills were sent. And we were
Oh.
going back and looking at it and couldn't figure what it is, so I sent them a bill to Lost Creek and they paid it.
So
No problem at
for
all.
3 years, they didn't pay?
Yeah, they didn't pay.
We never invoiced them, and
I
that
was
was
gonna
something
say,
that was
yeah.
done through the treasurer's office, not, you know, but that
I do,
department, I
yeah,
should say.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were unaware, and we used to put that up in, because that was, we considered that the pilt, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure, I've never known, and still don't know, what exactly of that amount. It went to, and Kim, and we discussed it, so I asked why she had put that into charges, and it is. We do inspect their buildings. That dollar amount, I'm not sure, that would be a treasury, somebody else question. Yeah, we did collect, we did send out the 3 bills this year.
What happened was, I thought that the fire department was billing them,
We never
and all of a
had,
sudden, no one was billing them, and all of a sudden, someone asked a question. And I said, okay, let's figure out what happened.
I'm thinking Dulcie used to automatically do it because
Correct.
she was around
Yeah.
when that whole arrangement was done,
Right.
when the PILT was negotiated.
right.
And we do a cost of living increase every year on that dollar amount. So whatever it is, we increase it by the cost of living every year, so it goes up every year, that too, so.
So we were putting that under PILT, and I know you're
I
gonna
did.
ask, well, it's only,
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah.
those previous years was only, and I don't know, I can't answer those questions.
Anyways, you got paid for services rendered.
Yes, we,
And, yeah,
More-
where it belongs.
more
and
money
all,
than you
and-
thought,
And
yeah.
a lot more money than we ever anticipated, yes.
I'll take it back.
No,
There's some catch-up going on there, but we don't want to over-budget for this coming year.
Right.
correct, that's why I went way back down to.
Last
yeah,
year's budget
3,500,
number,
You're correct.
so no change.
So I put no change, but wanted to explain because of that.
So the transport fees are paid by the insurance companies for the most part?
The most part, correct.
Some are private, I'm sure.
Correct,
Yeah.
yep.
So that, okay,
Yep.
at least you're getting paid for them now.
Yeah,
With an ambulance, without an ambulance, you still show up and they have to pay.
correct. This is true.
Yeah, so that's good.
Oh, yeah, we're
As long
definitely taking money in where we weren't before.
Correct.
Very
That's a
good.
revenue line that helps them
Supplement.
when it comes to the year end on the Act 33 stuff. That helps with some flexibility. So they don't have to spend every dime that's left over.
Yep.
Right, and we would like, and I would like to, besides the apparatus, we've discussed, maybe just between John and I, or Kim, John and I, maybe just Kim and I, I'd like to keep some of that money too. Keep as a, because we don't have that 3-month allowance for the emergency fund.
You
I
don't?
think we used to keep that, and then we were told we had to spend it all down.
In the CIP, I projected that your next ambulance will be $325,000. This one we budgeted $300. The next one will be $325. And how are we paying for that?
Correct. We're like, I think it was brought up earlier, we'd like to keep that as strictly an apparatus and let everything else.
That's my point, is you have to pay for that somehow. Even if we're already covering the wages and the services rendered number, majority goes to paying for your next ambulance, at least you're staying equal there, is my point. I'm not saying it's going to end up being those exact numbers, but
Right.
that's what we keep in mind.
But you have a fire truck you have to replace too, not
Very
just
true.
the one that's coming, but you need what I would call a replacement schedule built in that every year, like we do with the police car.
All.
Well, that's what's happening.
And
That's
we
what
did
you
years,
did.
we used to,
Mm-hmm.
then we got way behind, we had nothing. And then, just 3 years.
well, the Act 33 changed everything too.
So-
Well, that's been around a long time, but that's why you need those millages. Is that what you have?
Second to last line in the budget shows you how much they're setting aside next year for that next piece of apparatus, 175, 170.
So
And
that's
that's
for a truck?
directly from the equipment millage that is expiring next year.
So that's for the fire truck,
Correct.
It's for,
yeah. Well,
apparatus.
yeah, you need to do that.
That's what you're saying, right?
Apparatus.
You wanna
Well,
keep
fire
it.
truck, yes, but, yeah.
Yeah,
Any equipment that basically is operable.
Right.
Right, could be a car. It's not, but I'm just
Right,
saying,
I
we
get
just
it,
made it
yeah.
general so people don't say, well, it's not a fire truck.
But
It
you
might
will,
be a jet ski or a snowmobile
Oh,
or
yeah.
anything
Pickup.
like that.
but you're gonna create or maybe you already have this, some kind of a replacement schedule for everything. Didn't we do
They
that
do.
with our truck?
They probably have a better one than
We
Public
have
Works
a
even.
general idea, we had a schedule, we were on a plan.
Can we have that, Dan? Because,
Okay, I do not have one today, I do not
No.
have a general idea,
well, you need,
and it's been, I guess, membership knows, but, no, we do not, because right now, we're just trying to get caught up.
I know, but we need to ask the community through
Oh, yeah, I
millages for
agree.
more.
We'd have
So
definitely
we
have a
need to
plan.
know that in 2025, we'll need to replace this, because this truck is aging out. And do you know however that works? Because I have to explain to my neighbors
Oh, me
why
too.
we're doing
Me
that.
too.
They don't, right, they say it looks beautiful. The truck looks beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not
It's over 20 years
functional
old.
anymore,
Right.
right? But, I know there are recommendations as to when things need to be replaced, just like our police car. They're telling us every 3 years.
Right.
Yeah, so,
And there are recommendations, but I just want to, I don't want to be long, but 2174, which is our oldest truck, it's our least used truck. It's in our best shape truck. It's our most expensive truck. So, of course, we would all love to put that on a 20-year plan. And that's what NFPA, everybody's going to tell you it should be on a 20-year plan. Well, it's currently 30 years old. It's our best truck. And we're nervous about it too, but it is our best truck.
but it
Short
should
of the
be.
one that's on its way.
Correct.
Yeah, but it
being
should be
built.
on the 30-year plan, and if you
A
can,
30-year.
or a
right,
20-year,
but
whatever
see,
whatever they
That's a
say.
scary, it's a big number.
I know, but if something happened and we have no plan, then Ernie has to go borrow the money and pay 8%
Right.
or 9% interest. Wouldn't it make in my brain for
Oh,
this
I would love
organization,
to.
not for your house personally?
Right.
So if you have a plan, it doesn't mean you are stuck in it, but at least you have a plan.
Yeah,
I'll
it won't be
come with
funded,
That's
that's
pretty
the
simple to
issue.
do.
Yeah.
It really is.
But, the community likes the fire department
Right.
and the ambulance service
Dan,
and
Here's my
recreation.
recommendation. Put the plan together on what the recommended replacement schedule is going to be and have a second one on when you think
Realistic?
realistically it can happen based on the current revenue.
Right.
So
And
that
you-
you can show the
That's easy to
gap
do.
in
Yeah.
years, how much longer you have to keep it because you can't afford to replace it on schedule.
And someone might give us $1 million to buy one, if you put their name on
I would
it.
hope, and that would pay a part of it.
But
74
you
is
don't know.
30 years old?
It's a 94.
Oh, my God.
It needs
Which
to,
one?
The ladder.
Yeah.
And we need
you know,
that
paid
truck.
for
And
that.
Yeah.
20
to
years,
service those people.
a year ago, that truck was, 2 years, a year and a half, 18 months ago, that truck was $1 million. Today, that truck's 1.4, 1.5. So, I mean, so in 20 years, you bet
You have
$3
to
million
assume
for
it's a
that
$2
truck?
million purchase.
But just think how technology has changed, that you want to be in a new truck when you're out there.
When we bought that back in the 90s for 500,000, boy, that was lots of money to spend back.
Yes.
Wow, and that. But you look at it now to try and replace it.
It's triple that. But,
Wow.
Anyways,
yep, no, we can definitely do that. That's very simple to do. It'd be a scary number, but very simple to do.
Now, if you went for a replacement, would you be thinking a little higher?
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
glad to hear you
know
say that,
and
yeah.
We would have to.
Yeah. Rather than a
It's a great truck.
50-foot stick.
And it
Finish your
looks,
sentence, what are you saying?
yes,
That's only got a 50-foot ladder on it.
Oh, okay.
We would
Gotta go
need,
higher.
I think, at least a 75 or.
And it doesn't have a man bucket on top either.
correct. We'd like a platform also. Ideally, 100-foot with a platform. This one is nice. It's called a telesquirt. It's good for squirting water up high and down.
And not
But to
even
put-
that high.
No, and it's not that high.
No.
You can't get that close to the mall and stuff. It does help for the ISO, obviously for the ISO rating, it's huge. But it,
Didn't Launch just take delivery of a 105 footer or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ishpeming got it.
Ishpeming has a 75 foot.
75?
Yep.
Okay.
They bought the biggest one they could fit in their building.
Right, Matt, yeah,
It's
yeah.
bumper to bumper, wall to garage
That
doors
is-
in there.
Yep.
So how does that fit in with Longnier's development if they've got maybe a 3-story
I
condo?
think that's zoning, I'm not sure, oh, that's fine,
No.
just like everybody else does.
They don't have
Our
a
tallest-
three-story.
How's the truck gonna go? Are you gonna have a problem with what we have now?
Oh, no, we
Not
currently
for
have that,
long
we have, actually Frank's,
Thanks to Bill.
yeah, what's,
Yeah,
Days
my
Days
place,
in,
Days in.
country, comfort
Extended
suites.
stay.
My place.
Yeah.
that's my place, thank you, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That's, what you used to probably looked at it being built and just went, ooh, that's as large as you can go and be a good structure. And it's.
It looked like they were building it with toothpicks.
I know, yeah,
We
you
watched
probably
it go
looked at
up.
that.
It was scary.
You were involved, I don't know, okay, I just
I
wanted
had
to.
a guy that worked for me that worked on it, and he's like, wow.
I
I don't
know,
know how it's still standing.
I know. Like,
Anyways.
you should go and build that, anyway. Yep.
Yeah,
But yes,
anyways.
that'll be very easy to do, and I will put that together in no
Yeah.
time.
Ask us for the world, okay? All we can do is go, no.
Right,
But if you don't ask us, Dan,
you're right, and that's, yeah.
So-
And, yeah, I agree with you, it's hard to do, but you're right.
it's okay to
I
ask.
did that a month ago. I'm sorry, sitting in my office.
Yeah, it's okay to ask.
Let's go ahead.
But I'm a taxpayer too, and I'm a resident, just like, you know.
Keep moving, keep moving.
Okay,
I'm ready.
so I have a question though. I was able to pull up the spreadsheet that we've been all talking about. I've got the one from March. And the investment money for fire department, this is old, says 131,000. Okay,
They don't have any.
it's gone
It's gone.
It
in
was,
March and now.
We paid for the fire.
in March, the number was wrong because the fire department owed the general fund money because it committed and made a payment, well, purchased a fire truck
Right.
Okay.
with a loan from the general fund. So it didn't have any money until the next round of funding comes in.
Okay.
That's the problem with the spreadsheet. It doesn't get updated enough, and then it gets
Well,
shared.
It hasn't been updated at all since March, but
It,
my frame of, maybe it did in there, but not to me.
it goes back to when Dulcie went on contract.
Because she did it in March. She came in the office and did it, knocked it out in about an hour, got it done. Mike, that's not my point. My point is, there would have been interest on there somehow,
Depends
on
how it's
whatever amount of
invested.
money we had in there. It should be in here. And there isn't anything, so
Any
we're
interest we got,
not gonna have any more because it's gone.
Until he gets another round of equipment money, which is the 175, and that generates interest
Okay,
as they're saving up for their next equipment purchase. There won't be any,
okay.
because they don't have any money in the bank right now.
They don't have any
for
interest
equipment
showing in
millage.
here either for the last 2
So
years.
they don't have
3
any
years.
operating money if something went bad.
That's what Dan wants to
That's
build
what
up.
I've been wanting to do for 5 years, since I've
Since you
wanted
learned.
to
Got
at
it.
least put some money.
Right,
We have a major breakdown, I have to come to you to borrow.
but
money.
they can't put Act 33 money aside.
Right,
Well,
I
That was what
understand that
had,
whole
There's some-
game.
I've always said there's gotta give it some allowance, and we never have, we spent it all, but we needed, I've always asked for a little cushion, we
Right.
never,
The people in Lansing
I know,
have a different opinion than,
yeah, I know,
they aren't people that are in the position that have to deal with it.
correct?
right.
But this is an assessment, too. It's a public act. Or do I, am I saying this
That's-
backwards? We could go for a millage, but
Right.
then we have to go back and renew it and assume every year that we're gonna get it passed. So
Well,
there is an
you-
alternative
yeah,
to how we're funded.
You do it for whatever they did, 6 years.
but it's 2.5 mils.
I know, I pay it.
But
I pay for lots of
if the
things. I don't
taxpayers
even
get
use.
mad at the fire department for
Yeah.
something and decide
no
not to
funding.
renew it, now you don't have a department.
That's
What do you do?
absolutely correct.
What do you
Yeah,
do?
You get
So it's
annexed.
an alternative, but
No, it's working
not
out well.
So-
I've always wanted to just save a little.
There's no flexibility in what Public Act 33 says you can and can't do. You have to spend it all by the end of the year or give it back. Public Act 33 says nothing about the revenues we get from the ambulance.
Correct.
So we got to be a little bit careful if we're splitting all those costs out. because you might not be able to set any money aside. Because you're spending more on the ambulance side than you're actually bringing in. And now Act 33 has to subsidize it, which it shouldn't do. It's supposed to cover fire. So we got to be really careful there. Right now, with a ambulance transport fees revenue of $81,000, you could potentially put a good chunk of that aside for future ambulance purchase, with accounting using up Act 33 money for the majority of their salaries, other than the short time that they're out on the ambulance, so to speak.
So we're not the only township government entity dealing with this, so.
Correct.
How are other people doing it? Everyone has a.
It's probably a little bit creative accounting, but you have to be careful that you don't raise a bunch of red flags by doing things that aren't regularly accepted practices.
You have to keep it so the auditors don't make their comments at the end.
Oh, sure.
That's the
And, you
biggest
know,
thing.
other people have lived through this, so, you know. Those are good questions to ask at conferences.
Okay, going forward.
See, Larry Merrill was a fireman, so if you wanted to do anything, he was the one to go to. And he was the director of MTA at the time, and he would fight for the firemen. It was great. I mean, they had an advocate there.
He's no longer there.
No.
Expenditures.
Where are we?
We are
Page
on
two.
page 2.
Page
Expenditures.
Find your page 2 at the bottom.
Building and grounds, there's not really anything significant being proposed there.
No, and it's something, I mean, could happen, we do, you know, paint the walls, those types of things.
Yeah,
Nothing,
on the back of it.
nothing really out of the ordinary.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Administration.
The only really change is the meeting and training pay. And Trustee Lewis is correct, we should have probably been doing that 20 years ago.
Well, what did we hear from Aaron Graves when we called him that one day?
I don't listen to everything.
But that's,
Well, that's
this
okay.
is
then.
this is fixing part of the concern he raised to us.
I don't, oh, we have concerns, and some of, yep.
So all these people, you included in your cost projections a 2.5% increase for
Yes.
everything?
Yep.
Okay.
You feel that'll be positive as far as you're concerned then?
The training, meeting and training pay?
Yeah.
It's fair. I mean, I don't think anybody was really, nothing was really said. I mean, of course it's fair, and believe, I know talking to conferences, more departments are doing it, and I don't, not the chiefs or the upper management in the fire departments are all going, I can't believe this, we gotta pay these guys now for training. You know, it's just, because times have changed, and we never got paid before, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know.
Time
Oh,
goes back to the
yeah.
volunteerism statement that was
Exactly,
made
those days are
2 hours
gone.
ago.
He
Yep.
goes, I gotta pay my guys now to show up for training. We never
Can
used to have
past
to do this.
members go back?
Get
No,
ready.
yeah, I know, yeah.
If you're retired, it's
Especially
too
if
late.
they're retired. Yeah.
You get
Oh, I
invited
know,
to dinner, that's it.
there'd be a whole year's budget gone.
Statute of limitations.
Yeah.
It's all-
Okay.
yeah.
Anything else in administration? Fire marshal.
Nothing,
Dan didn't have a say in that one.
no, that's
It was all
Kim.
put together by Kim, and it's per contract.
Yep,
Fire marshal includes 1 or 2 people?
2.
2 people, okay. That's what I
No, Dan gets paid $30,000 more than I do.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Shame on you for your contract.
I know who would be getting all the headaches if that was the case.
So firefighting, looks like you got an increase in your on.
I do, I want to increase, and I just, yeah, and Jen and I have had a chance to talk about that too much.
What do you pay now and what do you want it to go to?
We're currently paying $2 an hour, and we had this discussion previous, you know, with Randy, and at that time I wanted it to be a little more, but was under the direction we couldn't pay any more than what other workers were getting in the township for on-call.
Oh,
but other workers now are currently getting quite a bit more, and I'd like to get up to par with them.
Okay,
Sounds fair.
that's fair.
Yeah.
As long as it's fair, that's the main
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what this board has
Right.
demonstrated it's willing to do, is be consistent on all that stuff.
Everybody.
Right,
wanna
and this
be
is new,
consistent.
so, yep, we started soon.
Yeah.
As long as your budget can absorb it, that's.
Well, I know, that's what, I know John asks me all the time, I mean, we have to absorb, we're gonna have to cut somewhere, these are things we have to do.
Yeah,
I mean,
But-
it's gonna, you know,
it's gonna help you in the long run. yeah.
Hopefully though, short term, you'll have a little bit of tightening the belt, and then you can loosen it back
Right.
up that notch when you renew, because the renewal is going to accommodate that adjustment.
right,
It'll be
'Cause
higher.
we have to keep up with the times. I mean,
we do.
you train a lot of people and
Everybody's-
they go and get a
yep.
full-time job at the city.
Yeah, off they go, right, I go.
We've lost quite a few in the
And,
last
and you
few
don't
years.
make them sign a contract to pay back their training time, correct?
Only EMS.
Only
And we-
EMS?
And in revenue, we do have one person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we used to always have 0 for reimbursements. What is that for?
Mm-hmm.
We have one person paying us back under that contract. And he's almost done.
Ours, when I worked, we made our new people
That
sign a
person went
contract for a
through
year.
training, got the license and
And
then,
left.
and then
Left.
quit.
And it's prorated, how long they stay with us and all those
Yeah.
types of things in the contract.
Yeah, that's, I mean, they all knew that before the.
They did,
Yep.
and he was well aware,
Yep.
and he's good on his,
They're fine,
Contract.
yeah.
So, yeah, someone's paying it.
But if that led to career advancement, big
worth
deal,
it,
right? It's
yeah.
a feather in
oh, yeah.
our department's
It
cap
is.
that
No, it's a win-win. I mean, I wish I could say it was a win for us, but yeah.
So looking at increasing phones, are you
I
buying
must have
phones?
missed, because we dropped our cell phones in our vehicles. You know, we used to have which was sort of
Yeah.
nice, but we did drop them.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, I don't know why I decreased it as much as I did, or for 2023.
Oh,
that was too big of a decrease.
Yeah, I guess so. So I don't know.
So Dan, you had some old equipment
Yeah, we were paying
that
like
became
$6
obsolete
a month, I guess, for a
that-
phone bill.
they won't service
They
anymore.
quit servicing that.
Well, there's no
They
band.
wouldn't let us use those types of phones anymore. 'Cause they were so
It was
old.
3G or something.
Yeah.
And everyone's at
Oh,
on
it's
4G
gone.
now.
So we just eliminated them because I saw the price and I thought, well, and I didn't realize that we were paying that little for them.
oh,
Because the phone was all clumped together, so I obviously miscalculated quite a bit for 2023.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah,
And the big screen with the screen and things, I guess.
yeah.
it's no big
Beepers
deal,
and
but-
phones and messages and, yeah, lots of stuff going on.
Mhm.
Sirens.
So
Yeah, that
capital,
was just for the phones and the vehicles.
so on the capital, Dan, last page.
Your vehicle gas went up a lot. And then-
Vehicle gas, yeah, well, yeah.
Goes up.
Well, it
Price
went up.
And I didn't.
And it's going to continue
Yeah, I
to.
know.
6,400
As
last
long as
year.
we got Biden in office. Did I say that out loud?
A war in the Middle East.
You did.
Yeah.
Mhm, no one knows. Mhm.
Yeah.
It is what it
The price
is.
lowered down, it was $1.90, now we're paying, and we use diesel.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It's, yeah.
Okay.
$4 to $5 a
No
gallon now.
capital expense?
Nope.
Gus? You don't want to buy anything?
He can't.
You
Can't.
can't.
He doesn't have any money.
No.
Well, it doesn't
Money.
mean he couldn't ask us to pay for something on the general fund.
That might be coming, that's, this is my budget.
What did
Okay.
I say? If you don't ask, you don't get anything.
Dan, the general fund before the changes that were recommended today had
Maybe.
Uh-oh.
$2,610 left over. What can you get for that?
I don't know. Something.
A little bit of gas.
Plus a $50,000 principal payment.
Yeah.
So there you go. If there was an emergency that only the general fund could pay for,
We
you
would.
could forego an additional principal payment to cover it up to $50,000.
But yeah, just to save a little.
But You just agreed to buy him a fire truck and an ambulance. I think he's good for a little bit.
It's got a pretty nice ride sitting outside there too.
Yeah. Well, that was not my choice.
They're not hurting.
That was not my choice.
By the way, you might want to bring that up to that place in Ishpeming and get the underbody done on it.
It's sprayed, yeah.
Get it
Oh,
sprayed.
that oil spray?
Yep.
Undercoating?
Mm-hmm.
Glassworks.
With the salt they're using now, these underbodies are corroding so fast. It's a $1,200 initial investment, and then every other year it's a couple $100.
Okay.
Wow.
Public Works had it done on the brand new utility truck they had. They even sprayed the insides of the utility doors on the box, because that's the first thing that goes.
Yeah, to get a new dump trailer, that's what you should put on.
Oh,
Yep.
they don't put any paint on those
They
things.
just rot right off.
Yeah, a couple of years, they're gone.
You're
It's
sure you
worth
don't
the
want to buy
investment.
anything? You're sure you don't want to buy anything, huh?
Well, no, they're not right now.
No computers?
We are going to be, but we're just anticipating 1 or 2 a year.
1 or 2 what?
One probably computer for our vehicles. And we don't even have a price. It's something we've been working on probably for a year and a half now. Marquette City just bought a couple. We're seeing how they work in there.
Are those like
the police had bought some
$5,000
earlier,
computers?
and they weren't working out. They didn't like them. So we're sort of waiting to see. And ours are working. They're just old. And you know what happens with old computers.
Yeah, they die.
Yeah.
And they get obsolete.
Right, they don't hold the programs
They don't hold-
anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
And we're starting to get there.
so you don't know how much that would
Yeah, and
cost?
we'll keep it under if we went over the, 5,000 for capital,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't be much. So
I think computers
think-
should always be capitalized, though.
What's that?
Computers should be capitalized over a 3 to 5 year period.
Yeah.
3 years is getting to the point of being too long, the way their things are moving.
Oh, I know, hey, just like,
Yeah.
Well, your budget looks good to me, Dan.
Yeah,
You had a lot less questions than I did.
They're tired now.
Good thing I kept my hands off of it, Dan.
Hey, yeah. That's what I was saying. They warmed up or they tired.
oh, the rest of it should go pretty fast.
And we have Public Works.
Well,
That used to be painful.
I agree. I agree that we should every year raise it a small amount, and I'm not a big supporter
Can we
of
talk
leaving
about that
things
real
sit.
quick?
No, let's move on.
Just 2 minutes.
It's 2 minutes.
That's
You're
fine.
okay.
We'll talk about it during Public Works.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So adjourn the meeting then, Lynn, and get us out of here.
343.
3:43, okay.